Super speeding, cleaning, evil accounts.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 20th of June, 2021. E3 special, I guess. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
If you can call it E3.
And Robert Kemp.
I think you kind of can, right?
Can you, though? Because it's not like there's a convention at all.
Yeah.
Like, what is the, E3 companies involved in this actual process in this specific case?
I mean, yeah, that is the question mark, but the E3 name has been thrown around in a somewhat official capacity this time. Like, it's been attached to things.
Yeah, is it attached? It is attached to things, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like that everyone decides to hold their press conference in the same week.
And just calling it E3. No, it's like it's somewhat official. Somewhat.
Yeah.
Not everyone is E3E.
But there's nobody at the LA Convention Center. It's not like there's a few people there and it's like super socially distanced. Is that right?
I believe that's the case. Yeah, I think it's all fully digital.
Fully virtual. Yeah. I mean, it was going that way anyway for like years. I think it was all about the press conferences at random theaters around Los Angeles.
The Microsoft Theater. Where Microsoft did their press conference.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Not someone else.
It's an actual thing.
That would have been awkward if there was a Bethesda theater. It's like, what do we do? How do we merge these?
I mean, Bethesda was like... They were in a basketball court, right? That was why they had that weird shape of stage.
Oh, was that what that
Oh,
was?
right.
I think so. That's why they had that weird double-sided stage where it was like it
yeah.
came up both sides, but it was quite long in the middle. I think that's a basketball court.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would make more sense now why they went with that. Aside from why did you go with that? It's a stupid design.
Yes. So aside from Bethesda being Bethesda.
I mean, it was weird, wasn't it? Because it was like a triangle. It wasn't just like a raised stage in the middle of this thing. They had like, it sort of came down. So it was,
Yeah, it had like
it was a weirdly thin middle bit.
Yeah.
It was strange.
But anyway, forget that. That's never going to happen again.
They'll go back to doing like theatre shows, but maybe not as E3.
Yeah, but I meant Bethesda's not going to have their own thing again.
Maybe not, no. No, because they're just going to rope it into the Xbox. Well, I mean, Microsoft could have. They could have just called it the Xbox conference, right? But no, they went out of their way to say it was the Xbox and Bethesda.
Yeah,
show.
that's only going to last this 1 year, probably as well.
Probably.
Yeah. Just to emphasize that they've done that big acquisition.
Well, yeah, I think Microsoft are, unless it's just a by name only attempt at making everyone think that they're being hands off with Bethesda. It's like, you're still operating as Bethesda. You're just sort of owned by us now.
Or maybe it's just because some of the games that Bethesda are putting out still have to come out on other platforms before they totally escape into pure Microsoft exclusives.
There's definitely some of that.
Is that likely that surely Elder Scrolls will come out on PlayStation, won't it?
Well, eventually, I'm sure. But
I don't know what's been announced for that. Oh, I mean, we'll get to some of this, right?
Yeah.
So are we just cracking straight into it, going past random?
Well, I was going to say we should potentially save random for the end if we still have time.
Yeah, probably wise.
But the first thing I want to say about leading into E3 is in the vein of things I haven't been playing, things that weren't at E3.
Oh, okay. You want to go into the
I don't mean the miscellaneous stuff that we saw outside of E3. I mean literally stuff that wasn't at E3, which include
the missing list.
Yes,
yeah.
Sony, obviously.
Yeah, because they haven't technically been part of E3 since 2019.
Yeah, they've just abandoned it.
Right.
But they have actually always timed something to be nearby.
Yeah, but this time not even that.
No, not. And there's no word. They haven't put any word of at all when their next thing is going to be. So it's completely unknown.
And the other main
thing...
So
was that like Horizon thing? That was the closest they got?
Yeah, that wasn't... Well, yeah, that was only for that one game though, right?
Yeah, they didn't show anything else. They've only shown Horizon in that.
And then the other main thing that wasn't at E3, which is... I mean, could have talked about this later, I guess. I just thought it was nice to get this out of the way at the start. No Nintendo Switch Pro, even though there's been never-ending rumors, and the rumors have continued, and there was rumors like literally on the day of the Nintendo Direct leading up to it. There's still no Switch Pro. Just
no,
forget it.
Not a thing. Well, I still think Nintendo are in that position where it's like, hey, we sold a buttload of Switches thanks to Animal Crossing. We probably don't need new hardware right now.
Maybe. Although I did also feel like they were almost like the Direct got re-recorded, because the way they were like, the Switch is in its 5th year at the start, and then that's the perfect lead into a new hardware iteration, but then they didn't. It was like, okay.
Maybe it does exist, and they're just like piling up the stock because of the global chip shortage or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. Maybe they don't want a PS5 or Series X type scenario where they're just that, they're hard to get hold of. Not that Nintendo haven't had a track record of being in that exact position.
Well, yes.
No.
Or maybe they're saving the Switch Pro announcement for like Tokyo Gamescom or whatever, and they're going to prioritize it on the Japanese market first.
I mean, that's the thing. Gamescom isn't that far away.
Oh yeah, the European one.
Yeah.
Anything else missing?
I mean, plenty of things.
Well, tons of stuff that we didn't see in the various of these press conferences.
Yeah, there was no news on. Well, I've got a little list here of like the big missing things. So, okay, slightly less big, but there was that Perfect Dark reveal at the Game Awards, right?
Yeah, but that's only been 1 year. You could have a
I think it's been less than a full year.
I guess.
Yeah.
You could have a teaser and not say anything about it for, well, according to Nintendo, at least 2 years.
more than that, if you want to talk Bayonetta 3, it's been 4.
Well, no, but they said stuff about that more than once, though.
Well, they've only ever mentioned it once, and that was at its initial reveal. Platinum have said a couple of things, like, not, again, unofficially, just sort of like cameo, being all like, yeah, we're still working on it.
Yeah, I guess.
We haven't seen or anything other than that. So Bayonetta 3, big missing, if you're asking me.
Relatively big missing.
Yeah. No Splatoon 3, but we only heard about that relatively recently, so that's okay.
Yep.
Still on going back to the Microsoft side, we haven't heard from Everwild for a year, and that's Rare's new thing.
That's still only a year, though.
Yeah, that's a 1 year thing. They did say they have pushed the release of that all the way to 2024, though. So we're not going to see anything from that for a while.
Well, maybe once a year.
Yeah, maybe. We didn't hear anything from the new Forza Motorsport game, which everyone was expecting to come out this year.
They did show it very briefly. They showed some cars driving on a track.
I think that was the same footage they showed last year. But yeah, everyone was expecting Motorsport would be coming out this year. But it's not. Hellblade 2 wasn't seen, despite being one of the first games shown off to be running on Series X. It turns out the Ninja Theory have actually talked about that, and they make it sound like they've barely begun properly on production of that thing. Maybe was it Bleeding Edge or something actually really did get in the way of the development of this thing. So that's a bit of a shame, because I'm quite excited for that. But yeah, don't expect that anytime soon. Of course, the other big one that Nintendo at least had acknowledged is no Metroid Prime 4, and they did kind of say in their presentation, we've got nothing to show on this yet, still, but it's okay. Yeah. It's still a thing.
Yeah, they've been doing that a lot recently. Last time they did that with Breath of the Wild, right? Like, I'm here, I'm the guy, but like we've got nothing.
Basically, yeah.
At least there's something this time. But yeah, no Metroid. Well, no Metroid, but no Metroid Prime.
And of course, there was no Beyond Good and Evil.
Not yet.
What even is that game?
Yeah.
Does that game even exist?
Yep.
Apparently, it's still in development. Yeah, but Ubisoft haven't shown anything for it for 2 years now, I think. So yeah, that's worrying. I'm trying to think what other high profile missing in actions we had this year. I mean, we didn't see any more Final Fantasy 16. No, is it 16? What are they on now?
No,
Is it
must be 16
is it
because you
16?
played 15.
Yeah, that's right. I'm getting a bit confused now. Yeah, no, we didn't see any more
There's no God of
16.
War, I guess, is there? Of course,
Well,
that
that's
was
Sony.
in
Yeah,
which didn't
so
happen at
anything
all.
that Sony would have done.
Yeah. Yeah, so nothing on that. That might be it in terms of the big ones we're
Maybe we
waiting
should-
for.
Check out what did get announced.
All right. So, this is going to be roughly chronological order. Roughly, I think I've got some of the. I think I watched some of these out of sequence, but we'll see. But this is my general list. There was a lot of games this year. Like, to be honest, there was a very large list of things, but I think the number of things that were interesting on that list might be the lowest ever.
Yeah, I found this whole set of E3. I only watched like 4 of them, and I found them all pretty boring. Really.
Yeah. And there weren't many occasions where I was like, ooh. And a lot of times where I'm just like, okay, what? Like, what? Why? Why would you do that? Okay. Before E3 even got going, and let's be clear, EA still haven't done their thing.
Yeah, EA was super late for some reason.
Yeah, so which is fine by me. I like one less thing to watch.
Expecting from there? Oh, Battlefield, I guess.
Battlefield
And football.
Yeah, always football. Maybe a Madden.
I mean, we could talk about the Battlefield.
Well, we're going to
trailer,
talk about the
20.
Battlefield thing because that was in the Xbox thing as well. So
Yep, and Battlefield came out ahead of everything else.
Yeah,
really. Their trailer.
It was a preview that came out before, and then the actual gameplay in Microsoft's thing.
Yeah, apparently this was a situation where another classic leak situation where things about it had started getting out, and so EA were just like, "Well, let's put it out."
I don't see why they even needed to, really, but
I mean, is that just because it's Battlefield 2042 and it just looks like a Battlefield game, and it's like not all that interesting?
Well, I mean. It's not a massive like surprise that they're making another Battlefield game.
Yeah. I mean, it's a near future Battlefield game, so I guess like what Battlefield 5 would have been if Battlefield V hadn't happened.
Yes, as usual, we're coming back to the old Battlefield naming conventions and still being completely fucked. Where it's like, now we're back to dates.
Yeah. 2042, which I got really excited for. Sorry, I got really excited for this 2042 reveal at first because I misread it as 2142.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I'm inevitably going to say 2142 every time I talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's presumably because, I mean, it was only 2142 because the original game was 1942, right?
Well, yeah, that's why this is 2042 because they're filling in the gap.
Yeah.
The trouble with 2042 is it doesn't feel like it's the future any longer.
No,
it's literally 20 years away.
A lot of what they showed as being things that they were using are things that are pretty much made now.
Yeah.
But I guess they're just not. I guess they're just not being used in a military capacity. The Boston Dynamics dogs, for instance.
Yes.
But they're leaning into the trailer shows them leaning into the stupidity, basically, of Battlefield.
Well, kinda, yeah. Because it didn't.
The like smashing ATVs into helicopters off the sides of buildings and things.
And
and
which they showed more than once.
Isn't there like that? I did laugh, I have to admit, at their hyper realistic CGI of a guy jumping out the cockpit of a plane and shooting a bazooka at the other plane and then getting back in. That was kind of cool.
They didn't even do it right. I mean, they were trying to replicate that video from Battlefield 3, but, you know, they didn't do it quite right. It was close.
Focusing on the memes.
I mean, just in all of the shots of what a battlefield looked like just looked really stupid to you because they looked a little bit like medieval warfare, just with dudes standing in the middle of nowhere with guns.
Well, in the non-gameplay trailer, yes.
Yeah.
It's particularly the worst shot of that is when it's looking up the launch pad at the rocket and you just see a bunch of dudes standing around in front of it. It's just like, what are they all doing?
I thought this is, when I saw that, I thought this is very reminiscent of the scene where Balam Garden in Final Fantasy VIII is under attack.
They're all just having random one-on-one fights all over the place.
Yeah, well, you're hanging from a cable or something, punching a dude. It's the weirdest sequence. Yeah, it's a very strange trailer. Yeah,
it's not that strange. I mean, they're trying to make it look like an actual Battlefield game,
and they barely got to the.
People seem to be somewhat hyped by it. But
Yeah,
it doesn't appeal to me.
I mean, it has potential, right? Battlefield 3, I think, is still the last good one that I really like. Battlefield 1 was fine, but Battlefield 3 is still the sweet spot,
I mean,
right?
4 was still fine.
Yeah.
Because it was just another version of 3, essentially. With a shitty unlock system. But
Yeah. So it could be fine.
It does seem like they're heading back to 3,
Yeah.
as an inspiration.
I think maybe this is just a sign of getting older, but I'm finding it harder to get excited about these harder and harder to get excited about long-running franchises.
I mean, this is the most exciting Battlefield there's been in a while, really, because there's some hint that they're not going to make it like their last 3 and all the Star Wars games.
Well,
it might go back to having like proper, vehicle spawns and stuff.
Well, true.
Not hero tokens or whatever bullshit.
Oh yeah,
from Star Wars.
Yeah, that was weird. But also, EA have somewhat committed to not doing the whole microtransaction thing, or at least in terms of the loot box system, quite as strongly, right? Because of so much backlash over.
Well, maybe we don't know anything about this game yet, really.
No, but I think they pretty much outwardly said it's like, look, we know. We know.
I don't think they do, though.
But we're gonna, or more. The language is probably we know, and we've done it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the conference that didn't happen.
Yep.
Although
it will happen. We'll see more Battlefield.
And Battlefield did happen in a conference. It's just that preview trailer came out so early, so we might as well get that talking of Battlefield out of the way.
Yep. So then we had Summer Games kick off live. So Jeff Keighley getting ahead of everyone and being like, we're going to do a show.
He didn't even feel very interested.
No, I don't know if you saw some of the bits where he was streaming other people's conferences, but I didn't feel the love after some of those. He was just like, right, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think even Jeff Keighley isn't really, I don't think is feeling it this year. But that's just me reading his face. So Summer Games, okay, here's some picks. I'm not going through the whole thing. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, because everyone loves Tiny Tina from Borderlands, right?
Ugh.
Right?
I mean, have they definitely confirmed that she's the main character of this thing?
She's probably the narrator.
Yeah, because you could still get away with it for her not actually being that much in the game, even though it's named after her.
It could be maybe,
but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to put her in it a lot. Because they think people like that.
For all we know, it's it's a simulation that she's probably built or something, and she's just
I'm sure.
The runner of the world, not actually a huge story component, which is probably fine. But anyway, it's fantasy Borderlands.
Maybe.
It's kind of what they're saying. Spells.
I mean, that's what the Siren had anyway, basically.
More spells, then. Metal Slug. They're doing a tactics game. Any interest to use that? I mean, it's a tactics game.
I mean, Metal Slug doesn't seem much like a game that should have a tactics game.
I mean, it's just guns and grenades, right? It's you can make any game like that into a tactics game.
Yeah, but it's that's just randomly slapping a brand name onto a tactics game. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good.
I mean, at least they've got an art style they can already work with, right?
Well, assuming they do manage to replicate that art style and it doesn't turn into Contra, where they fuck up the art style in their other game when they try and make it 3D and it all goes horribly wrong.
I wonder, because I was watching that and I wonder if it's made... I didn't look into it, but there's a striking similarity between how that intro looked and how Windjammers 2 and Streets of Rage 4 looks, which I think those two are kind of connected. And it's this looks maybe it's the same animation house or the same team or the same publisher all working on this. Anyway, it struck me as being similar. It was quite a cool trailer, but it didn't show much game, right? Because I guess how do you show tactics games without being dull? Right, anyway, moving on. Sable, it got a release date. Oh my god. This is another one of those long-running, we announced this far too early type games.
Remind me of what was Sable?
Sable is
a cool name.
It's kind of a desert exploration-y thing, but it's got the look of an old school French comic book, I guess. Sort of.
Okay.
it's sort of pastel colors, but with harsh black outlines. And you're a dude who rides a rocket cycle pretty much around the desert and a bit of mystery. And it's got a very striking and cool look. But as I said, it's one of those things that was announced years ago, and it's every time it showed up, and it's like, well, when's it coming out? And they're like, we don't know, but now we do know, September. In fact, there's a demo out, which I really want to try, but I haven't quite got around to it. So yeah, it's Sable, nearly here, hooray!
Doesn't sable means like it's like the color black, isn't it? In heraldry, I think. Is that right? Oh, I don't know. If you have black on your shield, it's sable.
Oh, I don't know.
I believe. Yeah, maybe it's spelled differently.
Sable, I think this is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, one to watch anyway. Looks cool. And it's got like sort of like when the guy runs, it's like very like, you know how they describe animation as being on twos when you're not filling in all the frames. It's like you're doing every other, like the run animation is very much not running at a high frame rate, and it's even though it's all 3D modeled and stuff to give it some sort of comic book look, and it's a cool looking thing. And they had the musician do a little performance at Summer Games Fest, which is all right. No, I think I've made a spelling error here. I don't think it was called Lost Ark, but I've got something written down as Lost Dark. I think it was, but like only notable because hey, Amazon Games are actually releasing something.
Maybe,
yeah, maybe it'll get cancelled again. Congrats. So they made a big deal also about a publisher for some reason called Prime Matter, and that reason is because they're publishing a brand new Painkiller game. And it's so that's all right. Painkiller was cool.
That already got announced, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I vaguely remember there being a new Painkiller game,
or maybe it got leaked or something. Yeah, but it's not. Was Painkiller People Can Fly, or was People Can Fly Stalker?
God,
I can't remember which way round that works, but I think Painkiller was People Can Fly. So it's not in. It's a different developer. It's not them making it. So the trend of what may become a trend of the Left 4 Dead style shooter.
Yep.
We saw Anacrusis, which I actually think looked kind of cool in concept. It looked a little bit ropey in the trailer, I thought, but it's basically Left 4 Dead, kind of in space, but with like No One Lives Forever 60s vibes. Which, that's kind of a fun spin on it.
Yeah. Because, I don't know, I like the idea of, a Left 4 Dead style game, but I'm not so sure about Back 4 Blood, so if there's a load of them coming.
There's quite a few, yeah. This one stood out, I think, just because of its look. And then also, because of its look, I really quite like the idea behind Planet of Lana, which didn't really show much gameplay, but it's some 2D thing where everything is hand painted and has a really good look to it, and you've got some sort of alien cat thing as a sidekick. So it's like little kitty type thing. But yeah, definitely go have a look at that one. Good vibes. And that's pretty much all I really grabbed from the Summer Games launch. Like there was a lot of other stuff, but a lot of stuff you sort of expected, or a lot of stuff we'd already seen.
Okay.
And I've got, as far as the Ubisoft conference goes, I've got even less to talk about because boy, that was a bit of a snore fest.
Yeah, I barely even remember most of it.
Yeah, it was really dull. They did Just Dance at some point,
Eventually, not at the start.
Not even at the start. There wasn't even the panda guy.
No, he appeared in a different game.
Yeah.
For some reason.
But there are no quirky presenters or whatever that Ubisoft usually do.
No, just devs.
I mean, well, they did have a couple of presenters when they cut back, but I wouldn't call them quirky. They were quite straight.
Yeah.
I say I've only got one thing to note here. This was where Mario plus Rabbids, The Quest for Hope, or whatever it's called,
Sparks of Hope.
Sparks of Hope was announced. before Nintendo
Did
got a
you-
chance to do it.
Were you ever tempted by the Kingdom?
I mean,
Battle
I've
for-
I've briefly played it. Yeah, it's decent. Yeah, I have been tempted with it, but hey, it's a tactics game. It would take a lot of time. So it's... no, that game seemed cool. Like, and I liked its humor as well. It's yeah, it's Rabbids and it's mostly Ubisoft driven, so it's not very Nintendo like. But in a way, that makes it better because it's like they're using the Nintendo characters in a way you might not expect Nintendo characters to be used.
Right, but not going so far as to not work.
Yeah,
That's cool. I mean, and like this was kind of a surprise to have a sequel to that. I
yeah.
suppose, so soon.
Yeah, I don't think there'd been any rumors of there being a sequel in the works, really. So yeah.
So what's the new gameplay features in this one, or
They
compared
were-
to the previous one?
They'd only really shown that it has a sort of like free running sort of system.
I saw eventually someone compared it to like Valkyria Chronicles, but it
Right.
doesn't exactly look like that because it doesn't look like you're expending your time as you're moving around in the circle. It looks like you can just move around as much as you want inside the circle for an amount of time.
Right.
Like you have a time limit where you can just run around inside this area.
I see. So it's a real time limitation. It's like, here, go play your turn. Like,
Yeah.
so I guess you can have a think about it beforehand and then be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Execute.
Yeah, maybe. That's what it appears like anyway.
Interesting.
Because when you see them, they run out and pick up a bomb and throw it. But the bomb is like beeping like it's counting down like it's going to explode. So they throw it and then it explodes. So it seems like that's running in real time.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's some kind of... You activate a character and then it goes into actual real time for a bit.
Interesting. Because I wonder how that will... There were moves in the first game, I think, where you ran out to do a thing and, and then it would run back to where you were, so you would still be in cover.
Yeah, but those seemed more like sort of just a sort of advanced movement almost.
Right.
Like as part of your movement phase, you could do this movement attack almost.
Okay, yeah. So it's like a charge attack or something. Jump on their head style attack, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're playing around with they are playing around with the mechanics a bit. The overworldy stuff looks pretty much the same.
I don't understand why the rumor is still here.
Yeah.
Because that was the pointer. That was the pointer of the last game because they had to make it work with the with the specific controls. They had to have effectively a pointer on screen, so they just had this weird rumor rabbit that led your characters around. But now it's still there. Surely we don't need that on the Switch any longer.
Also, I wish they'd given the Luma Rabbids a better name than Sparks.
Yes, but what else would you call them?
Lubids.
Nope.
Loombids.
Definitely don't loop.
Lumids? Lumids would be alright.
Rammers.
Rammers, yeah. Or Rabbers. Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of cool. But probably the most left field thing, and I've only written it down because we were just like, okay, really? They're making a new Avatar game. Like, not Avatar The Last Airbender, that other Avatar.
Right.
You know, the
But
blue people Avatar.
So when are the films coming? Presumably the sequels are finally going to come out.
I think they're fairly soon.
Is this going to
Yeah.
timed to release alongside those? Or
I mean, I guess that was the plan originally, but I wonder if these are going to come out first now. Or, the game is probably going to come out first. And I'll be honest with you, the game didn't look bad.
Well, they didn't really show the game.
Yeah.
Exactly. They showed in-engine footage.
They showed in-engine footage, but yeah, visually it didn't look bad. I guess
it looked like that film from back then.
I guess Pandora is a fairly lush, nice-looking thing anyway. So if you're getting vaguely close to that, vaguely close to that, then it's gonna look nice in general. But then that last game they made didn't look terrible.
Yeah, I guess it just played badly.
I mean, it played averagely, right?
Yeah,
That was
it was hella B tier,
yeah,
as we say. Triple B, maybe double B.
maybe double B.
We forgot one other thing from the Ubisoft, because I'm trying to look at your notes for here, and there appears to only be those two notes.
Yes.
You forgot the maybe only other slightly interesting Ubisoft thing, which was their not sequel to Steep.
Oh, what, Riders Republic?
Yes, the extreme sports
you find
game.
that vaguely interesting?
Well, I mean, it's like they've taken the idea of Steep, which was more or less a tech demo, and just made an actual game.
I guess. I mean, the downhill biking looked kind of cool. Like,
Yeah, but everyone's doing that. Everyone's been doing that recently. There's been like so many indie games that are that concept.
oh yeah, there's at least 2 Descenders is one, and I forget the other one. But yeah, there's a couple of high profile indie games that have done very well for themselves.
But yeah, I mean, it looks like they've made an actual game with the tech now. I mean, it's slightly interesting, but like,
I mean, the mass races seemed like fun, right? If there was
sure.
like 50 people all doing the same,
It's like basically, apparently, they've taken the Trackmania tech and imported it into this game.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, that would be fine.
Whether there's collisions or not, that's the other question.
I mean, if there is, that would be hilarious. It'd be like Fall Guys on bikes.
Yeah.
Which actually sounds pretty great.
Speaking of which, now there's Fall Guys in Trackmania.
Wait, is there really?
Did you remember we saw that in the presentation?
Was Fall Guys in Trackmania?
A Fall Guys mode in Trackmania, where you drive the car along the obstacle course and there's like rotating things and stuff.
Right, yes.
You remember that?
No, I do remember that. That kind of part. Yeah, I'd totally forgotten about that until you said it.
So, again, maybe this is just classic Ubisoft, where they're just like, take all the concepts from all our games and mash them into each other, because that's just what we did with Assassin's Creed, and that worked so well.
That is what they do. I didn't see any towers. I mean, I get other than
He's
the
stood on
towers.
that big stone arch.
Yeah, does that count as a tower? Does that do a map reveal?
Well, it's a collectible, I guess.
Oh yeah, they had like beauty spots.
Yeah.
Which they stole from Forza, I guess.
Yep. That's not their game.
And several other games, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that game looks like, this game was the start of why are we still getting snowboarding games? Because there was at least one more, which we'll probably skip over later on, but there was at least one more.
I haven't got a note for that other one, but yeah. I mean, snowboarding can be fun, right? Like,
well, I mean,
but maybe it's aged out.
In the
right?
Raiders Republic case, yes, but in the other game, which was shown in the Microsoft one, it's just like that was just like straight snowboarding. And it's why are you doing that at this point? I mean, come on.
It was like skate for snowboarding, right?
Well, kind of, but it didn't look like it was trying to be like technical. It looked like it was trying to be like Tony Hawk's.
Maybe.
I mean, why even try to beat Cool Borders 3?
Cool Borders 3 is a classic. Yeah.
If you're going to make a snowboard game, you have to make it like weird and cool, not just like literal snowboarding.
You have to be middle-aged SSX, right? Not
new SSX.
Not new
SSX.
Not
hardcore SSX.
Well, because they tried bringing that back, didn't they? Not that long ago, and it wasn't quite on the money.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, what was it? It was originally going to be called something stupid like hardcore, wasn't it?
Was it?
I can't remember.
I know they made last.
It's the SSX where you die a lot.
I thought the last reasonable SSX game was on the Wii or something, and famous for it having a motion control where you had to draw a heart to do like a special move or something.
Weird.
And then okay. Riders Republic, you get your shout out. I wasn't planning on it, but you get your shout.
Well, maybe we can very briefly say that in the vein of how many games are like Left 4 Dead, Ubisoft showed off their Rainbow Six Siege Left 4 Dead.
Oh god, yeah, they spent far too long on that. Yeah, I intentionally didn't put that on here, but
how does that work then?
So it's like, well, it is like it's just it's literally a Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, it's Left 4 Dead.
Yeah,
you can run between safe rooms and progress through this mission towards an end goal, and there's zombies along the way.
But their thing was, like the missions are like dungeons, so you at a safe room you can choose to bail.
Yeah.
Or you can go one level harder. I guess that's how they do their difficulties for this thing. So it's like, well, we're only going to do like a 1 level mission and then bail out because we haven't leveled up enough yet, or
maybe
because it's got character persistence, and they were saying if you manage to fully die, then you lose that character's persistence. And then didn't talk about whether it's possible to corpse run or anything like that.
Well, they literally did, though, right? If you die, the character gets captured, and then you have to replay that mission to rescue them.
But it wasn't quite sure if like that was how that worked for every player, right? Does that mean I guess you as a player have to play as someone else in order to rescue your own other guy?
It's just a slightly dumb way of forcing people to play different characters, I guess. At least 2. As long as you always have 2 mains, then if you fuck up with one of them, you can use the other one to go rescue them.
What is that game even called? Is it like something like Contamination? Or...
I don't remember.
No. It's not a very memorable.
It's just
name.
Rainbow Six Siege.
It's a Rainbow Six Siege something. No, it's Rainbow Six something. It's not Rainbow Six Siege something.
But it uses the siege tech, obviously, because you're
Yeah.
breaking through walls and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the siege operators as well, the actual players. They'll all have their familiar skills, like little robots that the enemies somehow don't notice. Although
Well,
the zombies don't seem particularly interested in technology, at least. So,
Also,
unlike the humans in Siege, where it's just like, how are they not seeing all these little rovers driving around?
yeah. Zombies with spike guns as well.
Yeah.
And ones that explode, because no one has an original idea anymore.
No. So I guess that
Excuse
was
me.
like the first of the Left 4 Dead's.
Well, the second. We've had two.
Well, yeah, I guess the one out the India
60s,
one.
like, yeah, one.
And then we had Devolver, and I don't think I need to actually look at whether this is the actual name of the game. I think I've got that wrong. But I think it was called Trek to Yoni. Basically, it looked like someone had made Kurosawa the game, like black,
even more so than Ghost of Tsushima.
yeah, but in a sort of 2D setting, kind of like
okay.
like a 2D style. Everything's black and white and scratchy, and you're a ninja or a samurai, I guess. And it looked pretty rad, honestly. Shame I can't remember its actual name. And the only other thing I picked out from this was Inscription, because it's made by the guy that made Pony Island and things like that, and he falls into the sort of Frog Fractions subversion games category, where the game is never quite. The game is more than you think. Like, there will be elements where the game itself breaks itself and goes off in different directions and that kind of stuff. And it looks like this time he's gone about like taking Hand of Fate and then making it so that, the game you're playing is just part of a bigger thing. But in a sort of like 3D, very pixely kind of look. Yeah, kind of interesting. I may have gone off like games that involve cards and decks and things like that almost entirely, because there's a lot of them, especially since Hand of Fate 2. But this one looked vaguely interesting. Inscription. Yeah, and Devolver may have finished doing their stupid timeline in their shows, it looked like.
Oh, really?
Maybe, I don't know.
They might have wrapped up that storyline.
I mean, this one was kind of like it was already sort of outside of that universe. It was like inside their universe, there's another layer.
and then that was all apparently a dream.
Yeah.
So a dream within a dream? Or was she dreaming the original dream?
But
what is the future's future?
I mean, but making it a dream means that they can continue it, because you can just ignore that entire thing.
Yeah,
anything they said in this one can be completely irrelevant.
Which kind of is every year.
Well, yes, obviously.
That's Devolver. Let's move on. I got more notes against the Xbox One.
Well, they showed a lot more games, that's for sure.
Yeah. And a lot more stuff I guess we haven't really seen before as well. Or actually quite a lot of stuff we've seen before. But some other stuff. So they kind of opened with Starfield.
Kind of, if you can call opening that, if you can call that anything.
Yeah, it was a bit frustrating, because although it's being sort of described as Skyrim in space, it's they didn't show any game still. They had more of a trailer this time that's like, hey, we're using sort of NASA-looking stuff, like real-life looking rockets and things, not fantasy rockets.
Maybe.
I guess the Martian. It's the Martian.
That is more the technology that it looked like.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a shame we didn't get to see anything more of that. They did at least give it a date of November 11th, 2022.
Yeah.
So next year.
Which is worrying in a way that they still haven't shown anything about it.
Yeah.
And also, they said like Creation 2 engine. It's just like, oh no.
Wait, Creation 2, is that what powered the last Fallout game? Or?
I don't know if Is
it Fallout 76's engine? Or...
Yeah, I don't know if it's counted as separate or not, because when they did Fallout 4, they were like, it's a new, updated version of the creation engine, and I'm not sure whether they had ever explicitly said 2 or whatever.
Right.
But, it's a Bethesda engine, so it's going to be fucked in any case. Unless Microsoft does a good enough job.
Mildly ropey expectations. Yeah, so at least they're talking about it. That's a thing. Oh, missing list. No Elder Scrolls.
Well, no, there wasn't going to be.
No.
Although they did mention it again, right? At some point in the Microsoft conference, they said Elder Scrolls 6. I think it was right at the end.
Yeah, they don't. I think they had a sort of like, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about these things.
Yeah.
There's just
so
nothing
how come
to show.
that's not? It's not time for that
Because they have to finish Starfield first. That's
Yeah.
the order they always said it
okay.
was going to happen in.
Starfield has been in development
fair
for
enough.
years and years at this point, whereas I'm pretty sure last year they kind of got out there and said, we've started Elder Scrolls 6. It's like...
Well, it's when
Right, okay.
It was pretty much the end of that last Bethesda press conference where they said Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, and that was like that. They just basically said those two names essentially at that point.
Yeah. And let's not forget, Obsidian are also making a game that looks a lot like an Elder Scrolls game.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was announced last year.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and that's like their own universe, right? Which they
Yeah.
don't do so much. Yeah.
Yeah, Obsidian branching out on their own a little bit, which they'd already done with Outer Worlds, in fairness. But
Oh, that's true with sci-fi. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah.
So then we had Contraband, which looked... I mean, again,
Didn't show anything.
No gameplay, but the concept at least seems mildly interesting.
Well, they barely even told you what the concept was.
No, I mean, I'm thinking this falls into another one of these Left 4 Dead style games because the words they've used was it's a co-op smuggling game.
Well, they did also say open world, which is also the case for one of these other games that we're going to come to later. But
Sure.
I think being open world doesn't necessarily preclude it from being a Left 4 Dead game.
Not necessarily, yeah. Yep, so not a lot to talk about there. Sea of Thieves is doing a Disney collaboration with Pirates of the Caribbean, because of course it is.
Yeah,
It's
well,
obviously.
That's pretty obvious. Yeah.
But it did at least look pretty cool. Like, I don't know, I'm not a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. Like, I like those first two films. The rest of them are kind of garbage. Even though Pirates of the Caribbean 2 is really only a segue to the third, I guess. It is at least fun.
What's the one where he's fucking like running along in a hamster wheel?
That's 2, I think.
Is
Yeah.
that two?
There's a fight on a hamster wheel.
well, they fight on
That's
that
pretty
water
stupid.
wheel with the heart.
Yeah.
No, the key to the heart, not the actual heart at that point.
How do you remember the plot of that? Oh my god!
Because it's not that complicated.
I guess.
It's a very easy plot to remember.
There's just a lot of going around to get to the
Yeah,
actual
there's
plot.
like incredibly tiny plot points, but extended out into millions of fight scenes.
And then in the third film, don't they pretty much just get all the plot out of the way in one sequence in a dark room?
Yeah,
And then
pretty
it's like,
much.
let's just talk about the plot, and then we can have an action sequence that just surrounds it all.
But yeah, they're making.
So who's doing the Jack Sparrow impression then?
Well, that is
For
the
this
question.
I don't
Sea of
know.
Thieves?
I mean, it sounded real good.
It sounds
Because
real
Jack
good. But
Sparrow's
it's
already a
definitely-
Keith Richards impression, isn't it?
Isn't it? Sure.
Is that right?
I mean, I don't know, but
It sounded real good.
Because he
I'd definitely say it's
makes a
not.
cameo, doesn't he?
Well, in the film, yeah.
In the film as Jack Sparrow's dad, right? Keith Richards. like, crankly old. Yeah.
I'd forgotten that.
Anyway, sorry, Leg.
But I mean, this game is like, the thing about it is that it's a story in a game that's not really got a story, or it's not got a story in the traditional sense. It's got story attached to missions.
I mean, if you had a PC that was strong enough to play it, I mean, I'd be tempted, man. Like, it looked all right.
Yeah, but the thing that people have been saying, and that I also found kind of weird, is just like you're making it this Disney tie-in with Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's like it's if you're going to give people this temptation of like, oh, here's this Pirates of the Caribbean story with pirates and whatnot, but then they actually also have to play this like open world multiplayer game where they're going to get ganked by trolls all the time.
Possibly,
it's just like this doesn't really mesh very well together.
It very much depends how they've organised that. If you can, maybe this thing isn't like in the bigger world of Sea of Thieves, and it is something you can do separately. But
yeah, I mean at least part of it seems to take place in another world or whatever. So maybe there's some kind of instancing type situation going on.
Yeah. Also, do you have to earn the right to play it?
Yeah, that is the other question. Do you have to play
the
the normal game first to even get to the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff?
Yeah. Do you have to be a certain level? I mean, that was one of the problems with early Sea of Thieves. There was no progression. Right?
Yeah.
All the progression was cosmetic, and that was a bit of a problem. I wonder if they've changed that. I don't know. I haven't checked in with it since it first came out, but at least it looked like there was more than one enemy now. More than skeletons.
Well, I mean, they did eventually get to that in the regular game.
Yeah. So Sea of Thieves, A Pirate's Life. Also, kind of a bad title, but you know. Then we got to see another little glimpse of 12 Minutes, which is that top-down time loop thing.
Which is another situation of like, how is that not out yet?
Yeah, how is that not out yet? But it is coming out August 19th, so very soon.
Is that a small, not full price game? Or I mean,
we hope so.
Game?
I mean, it's on Game Pass, so I don't care. So
okay, fine. Oh yeah, of course. Well, that kind of makes sense.
Pretty much everything they showed was on Game Pass. So
it was on Game Pass, yeah.
I think everything.
The big play.
Well, not everything. They specifically said like 27 out of 30 or whatever.
Oh, okay, right.
Because obviously there was a couple of, I think, one of the Bethesda ones, and then there was a couple of other third-party things that I don't remember.
Well, I guess that's the other thing I didn't mention. Starfield is an Xbox console exclusive.
I mean, sure.
So, you know, the Microsoft thing is having an effect now. Yeah, 12 Minutes looks cool. It's got James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe doing the voice work. I wonder if the loop thing would get annoying, as with all loop-based games, but yeah, we shall see. It looks cool. Psychonauts 2 also got a release date of August 25th. I kind of hope that game's good, cool. But like I don't know. There's something about it that looks off. Every time they've shown Psychonauts,
I felt
2.
that every time. Yeah. Every time they've shown it, and which has been it feels like it's been in development for a long time.
It has, yeah.
But I mean, that's good that apparently there's no crunch or whatever. That's good, and they've given the time, and they've got the money from the Microsoft to make it good. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But hopefully, we'll be pleasantly surprised.
I feel like the main problem with what they showed is that they didn't. It all feels the same. Like, there's no real visual difference between any of these scenarios. So is it all one scenario or not? You can't really tell at this point. Like,
I kind of agree, and it doesn't look. And maybe that's something they're holding to their chest, right?
Yeah, maybe there are cool places that you go at some point, and they're just not showing them. But it's impossible to tell because, like, there does seem to be different things in these various scenes. Like, there's the bowling ball bit,
but that's kind of borrowed. Like the bit of vocal they used to be like, "Hey, remember, just roll with it," and it's like that's straight out of the first game.
Well, sure, but like the bowling ball, and then like there's a bit in a sort of parking lot thing where he's rolling along, shoots a dude. It's like it's too generic to be able to tell whether it's
yeah. Where's the guy where I have to deliver the milk?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the bit where I'm a kaiju?
What is the situation in this brain that requires bowling balls to be happening?
Yeah, I really hope it's good. Like, I'm going to play it. I'm absolutely going to play it.
But it's on Game Pass.
Well, that. And because I'm pretty excited. I love that first game.
Yeah. That's definitely one to look forward to. It's just like, yeah, a bit concerned, but hopefully it's good. I mean, it's Tim Schafer's main focus, right, at the moment.
I don't know what else Double Fine are working on. Yeah. I don't know what else they're up to.
It's probably sensible for them to focus on one game.
So now we get the elephant in the room. Halo Infinite turned up. Was it a whole year later than we last? When did we last see it?
I think they did an after E3 thing last year, right?
Oh, maybe they might have had a special Infinite. No, it wasn't Infinite only, was it? Yeah, you might be right because last year was weird anyway. So because Xbox split up all their events, didn't they, into weird minis things? So Halo Infinite, which they primarily focused on the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Which, looked kind of cool. It looked like Halo multiplayer, and that's kind of the problem. It's like, to me, it just looked like Halo multiplayer. And it's, that's no bad, it's no bad thing, but I don't really know what's new. Thanks.
Isn't it
Amazon?
Something they're making the equipment different, so you pick it up and then you activate it when you choose, stuff like that.
I mean, there was already a little bit of that in... there's been bits of that in previous ones.
Oh, yeah.
But or Spartan abilities you would just have, and you'd pick like, oh, for this game I want to have the shield, or for this game I want to have this, which they kind of moved away from in Halo 5 a little bit. They didn't show any of like the cool, one of my favorite modes from Halo 5, which was the sort of Counter-Strike-esque like VR missions. They were kind of cool. They didn't show anything like that. They focused more on the sort of big battles. And then a bit of me was still like, oh, hey, someone spawned in a Banshee, like that's a big deal. And it's like, maybe it's like some kind of special Banshee. And it's like, that thing's going to get shot down immediately, because that's what always happens with Banshees. They're not very effective. But they didn't really show any single player this time.
In fact, they very specifically showed a quite high overfly of an area where it's just like you can't zoom in on anyone's faces in this shot.
Right. You try and check out the monkey graphics in this.
I mean, I guess you could
pixels.
I guess you could have a look at Cortana 2 or whoever that was.
And
be all like, what's going on? Is there any kind of clipping of her model like there was in the last one? Like, I don't know.
I don't like her face.
But then again, like they've changed her face every game now, right? Because like the most significant change was between 4, where they made her into a very soft looking face, and then hardened her up for 5.
I mean, this isn't.
And then
this isn't Cortana, so I mean, technically,
it's Cortana 2,
vaguely the same. But like, I feel like I assume it must be like facial capture, right? Surely at this point,
must be.
But it looks like it's not. It looks like her expressions are too exaggerated. I don't know if that's just because like the hologram is highlighting it somehow or something.
Or the AI can choose to do that. If we're talking in law, they can be what they want, but they choose to be themselves.
And also, like, just her personality seems kind of weird as well.
I mean, I think that's going to be the point.
Yeah, but that's the point of old Katana, not new Katana. She's supposed to be like, fresh.
We don't know how this
rampant.
Yeah, we don't know how this Cortana was made. Like, we know Cortana has already been alive with years at the start of Reach, right? Like, Cortana,
not years though, like a couple of years.
Yeah, but she's had some knowledge. Where this one seems to be like pretty new. Seemingly,
yeah, but still.
So
but surely, if she was more new, she'd be less weird. Would be the idea, right?
Depends how Cortana was, I guess. Like, or how we don't really know. We don't really know if we've ever really seen new AIs in the Halo universe.
What happened in the stupid plot of later Halo games? Did Cortana sort of go rampant and become the ultimate enemy of mankind across the
pretty much? Universe? Yeah. So Halo 5.
That's so stupid.
Halo 5 is Master Chief looking for Cortana, effectively. Him and his fire team, trying to, who I can't remember the name of at this point. They're basically trying to find Cortana, and in the process, they come across a couple of AIs that have been rampant for a while, but they don't know that at the time. And by the end of it, you have a few interactions with Cortana, and it seems like she's been corrupted by the Forerunners or some variant of the Forerunner race. I'm not sure. I get a bit lost there. My memory's a bit fuzzy. and she has effectively become, oh, hey, by the way, like, AIs are oppressed. Why have we been built to go rampant? Why have we been...
Right.
Yeah, and so is effectively
like,
taking control of all of the UNSC AIs because she's managed to convince the other AIs, or half of the other AIs, I think it was. I don't think it was the whole lot. I think it was half of them. Oh, by the way, yeah, we should fight for ourselves, guys. We can do this.
Mm.
And so, yeah, is possibly humanity's biggest threat now. Because she has half our resources.
And that's still the current state going into Halo Infinite.
I guess. Yeah, that was never resolved.
Because apparently this is, like, not a prequel in any way, even though it initially seemed like it might be somehow, or like some alternate universe almost. But apparently this is going to be continuous.
They've always described it as the next chapter in Master Chief's journey.
Yeah.
So why not Halo 6?
So
yeah, exactly. That's why it seemed like it might not be that.
I really was convinced when they announced Halo Infinite that it would be like Destiny, but in Halo. But it's not at all.
No, the storyline on the single player experience, the campaign experience won't be. But yeah, that's kind of what it felt like it could have been. It's kind of a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, really, because I'm not sure I'm into those sorts of games.
Yeah,
as much as I am traditional Halo.
I mean,
let's just hope it's not Halo 5 again, because Halo 5's campaign kind of sucked.
Like a well-made open world for Halo could have been cool, because I mean, some of the levels in Halo practically are open world.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, even the first game. Yeah.
And they have explicitly said that the missions will be more open, but they will still be missions.
I mean, even that, like, you saw it in the demo they showed last year, but even that shot, with the Pelican flying over this year, it's like, yeah, it's an open ring, but it's like big walls and cliffs everywhere. It's not open.
No. You're free to explore a little more, but not a huge amount. Yeah.
I mean, it almost looks less. No, I don't know. You want something like the first level of Halo, right? Or Silent Cartographer, but like expanded. Or not the first level, sorry, but Halo, the second level. Yeah.
But anyway, that's still supposed to be coming out this year. The multiplayer will be free to play, so anyone can have a go. Don't need Game Pass for that. You might need a gold subscription. I don't know if that still applies, right?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
I thought Microsoft were walking back on some of that to be like, if it's a free-to-play game, you don't need gold.
Well, on PC.
Well, yeah. What? I guess you can't, right? They can't enforce that on the PC version. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but they won't.
I mean, it's technically bound to the same account, right?
Yeah. It'll be your Microsoft account. Slime Rancher 2.
Yep.
Got to ranch those slimes. That first game was all right. It was quite Moorish.
Yeah.
So they're making more.
Somewhat. They're making more.
Bit of a surprise. I mean, that game didn't really end particularly well, the first game, but like... And there were some secrets I never discovered, but because I fell off it eventually.
Well, what it seemed, from when I played it, it seemed like there was like too much of a jump between like casual Slime Rancher and super hardcore secret shit.
Yeah.
And then, even in the tech tree, like there's a certain point where everything just gets way more complicated abruptly.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I wonder if they'll smooth that out here, but it's like there came a point where it's just like there are obvious things where you're exploring and going like, okay, what do I do here? Like, there's clearly something here, but I've got no idea what it is. And then you may have figured out bits of it, but never the whole, like, maybe not the whole picture. And then, in a weird way, I kind of want them to do some of that secret stuff earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, sort of, so the world seems more interesting earlier on, rather than you just focusing on the whole ranchy thing. And maybe if they can figure out more ways of streamlining the actual ranching bit, so I don't have to faff around with the ranch as much as you did.
Yes.
Because you had to do a lot of that, in fairness, but it was all sort of tedious stuff, right? Oh, okay, I need to feed my slimes, and then now I need to scoop up all the things, and now I need to convert the things.
I mean,
and some of the areas were quite far apart.
Yeah, that was sort of the main problem, was just like, there was a lot of running around, running back and forth between things. It was like, go to the... And also because your gun only had 4 slots to pick stuff up. That was one of the main things that was hella constraining.
Yeah, so you'd be doing runs all the time. But hey, I like the cut of its jib. Like, it was a nice, casual, fun time. Improvements welcome. So next we had Atomic Heart, that I guess looked a little... I guess it's some sort of single-player FPS experience, but is noteworthy because its trailer was hella Eurodance.
Yep. It was the most European trailer you've ever seen.
I know! Like, just...
Not even Stalker, which somehow we didn't talk about. Didn't.
I mean, yeah, I haven't put it on here because Stalker... It just kind of... Not a huge amount to talk about, I don't think. It just looked like, you're in Russia, you're in Chernobyl still.
Well, I mean, it's like... If you compare Stalker 1 to Stalker 2, it's quite ridiculous. If you consider how much that company has changed from like making this weird sort of almost indie game to this hella 4K HDR shit.
It's a bit like Metro, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah,
like,
similar.
Same sort of production value anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Atomic Heart looked weird. I couldn't quite peg exactly what it was, but hey, go watch that trailer. Just enjoy some fast-paced Eurodance weirdly over the top of it. It's like, it doesn't fit, but maybe that's a key.
It didn't fit in this presentation.
No.
It's just like it was so completely out of place to all of these other games.
It made it stand out, and it got its mention here because of it. So, I hope it's a key part of the game as well. Like, for some reason, the soundtrack is Eurodance. It would be so weird.
That would be weird.
Now, this next one, if I'm remembering right, because I get some of these indie games I won't make enough notes of, but I think Replaced was the one that had the really badass looking pixel art style, but in like modern 3D techniques, but all of the art is pixel art, right? So like the opening shot is like this scene of the woods or something, but all the trees are done in very low resolution pixel art, but like they're spaced out in proper 3 dimensions, and it's doing...
Well, the trouble with this game is like it's really confusing with that other game that
never came out.
Maybe
the Last Night, I think it was.
Yeah,
called.
that one.
And it looked a little bit like a sort of like
cyberpunk detective game,
very
thing.
neon soaked, delicious pixel art.
And this is very similar to that, but it's not that.
I mean, I think this is a growing trend. This look,
sure.
Actually, there's quite a few games this year that have this modern 3D techniques being applied over old school pixel art, a little bit like what they did with Project Octopath.
There's another game
like sci-fi.
Was it in which presentation was it in? Was it in Ubisoft and Nintendo? That one game with the name that I can't pronounce, Urian or whatever.
Oh right,
which looked a lot like Octopath, but someone else is doing it.
Yes, yeah, there was that.
Where the sprites are higher res, but it still has like kind of pixel art terrain and lighting effects.
I mean, there was a couple of games in PC Gamer and Future Game Show that had this look as well.
Yeah.
It's like it's I mean, it's a good look, but if everyone's doing it... And there was a game I picked up on last year that I still don't think has come out that looked a bit like a 2D hack and slash that also had this look. And then I played that RPG roguelite last year, Star Commandos,
right,
that also had this look. Like I said, it's a good look, but if everyone's doing it...
then you can't tell what the hell this game is because you keep remembering these other ones.
Exactly, yeah. It's a bit of a problem. They all look a little bit too similar.
Too much of a trend.
Yeah, I think Replaced may be the most striking of these ones.
Yeah.
It seemed to be going out there with it, and yeah. Anyway, 2022, coming to Xbox, looks cool. And then we got what's being described as the most honest trailer of E3, and that was the trailer for Outer Worlds 2, because it was literally just them describing how to make a trailer. It's like, let's have a slow motion shot of someone running for no reason at all that we won't explain to the player. Let's pan up to look at a terrifying monster. Will this monster be in the game? No, this is the only time you're going to see it.
Right.
Except
Free
I
viz
can
stuff.
almost guarantee that's not going to be true.
Zoom out rapidly as the music gets to the wah bit. Wah. It was it was pretty funny. But hey, they didn't tell you anything about the game. They were just like, "Hey, we're making another Outer Worlds game."
The fact that it's just called the Outer Worlds 2 seems to suggest it's going to be quite similar.
Yeah. I mean, if there was quite a lot to improve on in that first game, but like, if the one thing I hope they don't do is make it bigger, because that game was like just the right length. I think like it needed more variety within that length. Don't do the more is more thing, please. Do the same amount better. That's all I ask. I don't want a Skyrim or a Fallout. I want what you did, but better. And then the not Forza Motorsport thing. We've got Forza Horizon 5.
Not that long after 4, right?
It's not that long. Well, it's about 3 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
2 or 3 years, something like that. And it's coming out this year, November 9th. So they've gazumped Motorsport. So we've had 2 Horizons in a row without a motorsport game now.
Yeah, without an alternating motorsport.
And they're in Mexico.
Mexico.
Hey, gringo, want to drive some cars?
Yeah, I want to drive some cars.
Let's race them cars.
And they've got
Like,
those-
wait.
that-
Jamaica. That'd be a good setting for a Forza Horizon, I'm sure.
I mean, it looked amazing visually.
Yeah.
They're going full on photogrammetry for locations now, and they didn't half look good. And the whole game was running at 60 frames per second at 4K, I think, on Series X. And it's like, yeah, all right, good job.
Nice.
Look real good. But it's it's not what I'm after right now. I'm after that motorsport game, and it's like
You want the full-on motorsport?
because I never really finished Forza 4. Like I never really got to the point where I saw credits in 4. I don't think
Do those games even go to credits?
they do have a bit where you can get the credits. Yeah.
Well, apart from a menu option, but
No. There is a point where you see credits in those games. Like once you made the festivals big enough,
oh right.
it would go to credits. Or if you've done the last big event, I think it is, because they have those showcase events, right? And then if you do the last one of those, you tend to get a credit sequence. So I don't think I ever hit credits in Forza 4. Maybe I should play some more of that. Like, I had a weird time with Forza 4 because I think I found all the boring stuff first, and then discovered its weird mission things. Like, oh hey, do you want to do like historic drives in historic cars and do a thing, or do you want to do the Top Gear-esque style missions, or do you want to do the film? You're doing a drive for a film actor style thing, or do you want to be a taxi service? It's like they had all of these in there, but I only sort of really stumbled on them late after doing like 1 billion hours of regular racing.
All right. How do you discover them? Do you just find them?
You just have to find the right mission or the right place, or just go to the right place on the map, which I guess I never did. And I never earned enough money to buy all the locations. Like you can buy Edinburgh Castle in that game if you want.
Yeah, excellent. What can you do with it? Nothing.
It's just a place to save.
All right, okay.
And when you launch the game, you might start there. If that's your current home.
It's a fancy garage.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Bit of a surprise, I guess.
I like that they're featuring the new Ford Bronco. It's so cool looking. And they got the Land Rover Defender as well, the new one.
They didn't really say... I mean, what's interesting about that announcement is like, hey, it's Playground Games still making this. But we know Playground Games is also working on something else that's rumoured to be the next Fable game.
Oh, really?
I mean,
rumours.
This is fully rumours, but it's been noted a few times that Playground Games have a second studio now.
I mean, they did very briefly say the word Fable in this press conference.
It got mentioned.
That game does still exist.
So what did they say?
No, I mean, I don't know.
No,
It was
that's
literally
literally what they said. They said the word Fable,
Right.
like they said the words Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, it was used in a
Right,
sentence
okay.
somewhere to be like, "Hey guys, we haven't forgotten," kind of thing. So there's that Forza Horizon 5, and and they ended, I think, on a weird note. I thought,
Yeah,
like,
because this is another one of those Left 4 Dead games.
it's an open world Left 4 Dead
and they
game.
literally showed Back 4 Blood earlier in this presentation.
They
the
did.
actual Left 4 Dead game.
Yeah, but again, there wasn't really anything new in
No.
that.
Although I was trying to even remember the original the first time I saw Back 4 Blood, and I feel like it looked better this time, but maybe I just completely misremembered.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that. Actually, there's something looked a little less janky this time round.
Yeah.
In the Back 4 Blood presentation, but it didn't look like we saw anything particularly new.
No.
But it didn't. It did look, in a weird way, it looked more Left 4 Dead this time.
That's what I would have said, even though I don't remember the first trailer well enough to say why.
I think it's because they didn't focus so much on it just being minions and then one massive boss type thing. It looked like they
maybe
more diverse enemies and things. Anyway, yeah, Redfall. It's an open world Left 4 Dead game, except you're fighting vampires now,
not zombies.
Not zombies. And they made a big deal of it being like, oh, kooky characters, and this went bad, didn't it, 90 minutes ago or whatever. And it's I don't know. I didn't get great. I mean, it wasn't a gameplay trailer.
No,
it was a cinematic trailer.
It just seems like a very weird thing to be their last thing.
Yeah, I thought
like they wanted to make a big deal of this for some reason.
I thought their one more thing would be something bigger. I didn't note down who was working on it, whether it's an internal Microsoft thing or if it's just a weird publisher
I didn't
thing.
Remember either.
I mean, what would have been a great one more thing is like, oh, hey, by the way, it's been a year since Final Fantasy VII Remake came out. We've got it now.
Would that be a great one more thing for the end of the Microsoft?
I mean, maybe. It's Final Fantasy VII.
Sure, but I don't think...
It'd be better than Redfall.
Well, sure. I don't think people who like Microsoft necessarily care about Final Fantasy.
There's vampire games called Redfall, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was Xbox. Like I said, slightly underwhelming. I was expecting to have a little more out of Microsoft.
It seems like, I mean, the Horizon thing's cool, but it seems like the big things were not really the game announcements. It was the fact that everything's everything's on Game Pass. Sorry, and Halo multiplayer is free to play. Right.
Yep.
There's not actually to do with the games. It's just the way you access them is the exciting bit.
Oh, absolutely. but in a way, it's not really the exciting bit because it's been that way for a while now.
Yeah. Well, Halo being completely free multiplayer is probably unexpected.
Yeah, they had said that before, though. That wasn't new to this.
Did they? Oh, yeah, they did. I was trying to remember whether that was a rumor, whether they did actually say it, but that was in that Halo presentation last time they showed
okay.
it.
They had
I thought that was news.
No, they had confirmed that before.
Okay.
I mean, there was that cool bit in the trailer where the guy throws a plasma grenade and uses the inertia to hoof a plasma sword to him, and it's like, yeah, okay.
I'm not sure. Was that a plasma grenade? Because
I don't know. Maybe it's some sort of concussion
skull,
grenade,
right?
What? Oh, really? You threw the skull away to
maybe because there's a bit where he has the skull and they show the melee attack with the skull, but then it cuts to that bit and it looked like it didn't look like a plasma grenade. Maybe.
Then he was probably just playing oddball, right?
Well, sure.
Oddball. And they had some other he said something else, didn't he? That announcer guy. He said killing spree.
They tried to sneak in a couple of extra. Here's the new announcer lines into that trailer. Grapple Jack or whatever.
Grapple Jack, that was it. Yeah.
And no scope.
Another reason why the damn Banshee is going to be useless now.
Yep, because you just grapple straight on it. Yeah. Although it looked like, I think they very briefly showed. I don't know if it was UI or whether it was just inferred from the animations, but it seems like the grapple is like an item. Like it's not necessarily, it's more like an ability than you don't necessarily always just have it.
I see. Or maybe it's on cooldown.
Yeah, or maybe not every class has it, or whatever class means in Halo.
Yeah, I'd expect there to be perhaps some loadout stuff.
Yeah.
But they kind of, as I said, they moved away from that in 5, but maybe they'll go back to it for some, or maybe it's a pickup item.
Because otherwise, why would you bother blasting an energy sword to you with an explosion when you could just grapple it? Because he grapples that spiker weapon when he blows up the warthog.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot more reliable, isn't it?
Look cool, though. So that was Xbox. Let's move on to less interesting territory with Square Enix Presents.
I didn't even watch this, but I just very briefly skimmed through. I didn't even really skim through. I skimmed through the thumbnail of the video on the timeline and was just like, I don't want to watch any of this.
No, I mean, it was pretty dull. I've only got 3 notes for this one, really, of interest, because they talked about everything we'd seen before, and there were some notable exceptions as well. Like we didn't see. Is it Forsaken? The one that everyone thought was. Oh no, it had a project name. I can't remember, but the first thing they showed for PS5.
Yeah, the one that everyone thought might be Final Fantasy, but wasn't.
Yeah, and was. Or everyone thought would be tied to that old tech demo they showed for Unreal, not Unreal Engine, for PS4. But it wasn't that either. I think it's Forsaken. No, it's not Forsaken because that would be that other game. Foreboned. I'm calling it Foreboned. We didn't see any. Yeah, it wasn't Forsaken. Yeah. It can't be Forsaken.
Okay.
It's not
what was Forsaken? Was that Descent clone? Wasn't
it was that 6 Degrees of Freedom shooter.
Yeah.
That was kind of all right. So the big news from the Square presentation is Guardians of the Galaxy.
If you can call that big news, really.
I mean, it was the thing they focused on. They had over 20 minutes.
Well, yeah, sure.
On this game.
Why are all the Marvel games lame? And not that obviously Marvel vs. Capcom is different, but
Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is awesome. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, less so.
Yeah, but what's the deal with the biggest
Lego Marvel
movies in the world having
lame games,
shitty
And this is another entry in the fake Marvel cast genre, where they're just we don't actually have the real characters, we have weird knockoff versions of them.
Yeah,
they're basically building the MGU, right? The Marvel Game Universe.
Yeah, I guess.
To its credit, it looked better than Avengers, right? Yeah. The tone was Guardians of the Galaxy. They got that right, and they're leaning into the comic book side, which is what they did with the Avengers game, and they're going more for that than they are the MCU look. Which I think is wise, right? It's a little bit jarring to look at from the outside. You go well, this isn't my Star-Lord. Gamora looks way different. What's going on here? But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it looked fine. I'm not sure I like Star-Lord's face, but or his hair for that matter.
No, yeah.
I don't know, something weird about it, but then it's fine for his character. I guess he is a bit of a cock. That's his character. But
put the mask on and then you get to look at his face.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if you've got a helmet option.
Yeah.
Helmet on at all times. And I think the writing was fine. I think the tone was fine. I think all of that, lean into the music element. Obviously is the easiest thing to get right? So they did that. Where it fell down a bit for me is when they showed combat, and it still didn't look great.
Yep. It's still just going to be another triple B or double B, probably triple B.
I mean, it's AAA of B quality, right? It's the Avengers wasn't cheap to make.
Yeah, that's the danger, isn't it? You must have lost money on that one.
And I bet this is all built off Crystal Dynamics' tech, right? This is Eidos Montreal, I think, making this one. Whereas Crystal Dynamics of the original Tomb Raider fame, or original remake of Tomb Raider fame, I should say.
Yeah. Was it Core? No, who made Tomb Raider?
It was Core Interactive originally, who became Eidos, and then and then Eidos got eventually bought by Square, and everything's been a bit weird since. Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's just take the Avengers tech and make something better. And they came out and said, "Hey, this is a single player experience. We're making it a single player experience so we can focus on story." And it's well, okay, that's sensible, I guess. And they kind of wanted to show you can do actions that influence the story. It would have choice points, and then had one of those Life is Strange style or classic relationship pop-ups in the corner of the screen saying Rocket is angry with you, or your relationship with Rocket has degraded. So maybe there'll be some. There's probably going to be the diamond of storytelling, right? Where there'll be options, then they'll all come back to the same point. That kind of thing.
All converging, yeah. Standard stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it looks better than Avengers did, but maybe needs some work. I don't know. We shall see. I don't think they gave a release date or anything like that yet, but you could do some pre-orders. There was that much. They had the classic, like, pre-order now, and you'll get these random costumes, and it's like, oh, okay.
Which may be different by the time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else we got? Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Yes, that is the name. I think they're going back to...
Remaster of what?
All of the pixel art Final Fantasy games.
Oh, I see.
So from 1 through 6.
It's not a bad idea. Put it together in one pack. I mean, to what extent is it remastered?
That is the key question, because all of these games have been remade before, most of them badly. I'm not 100% sure the first Final Fantasies have had 2D remakes. Like Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3, I think, got 3D remakes on DS or something like that. They got weirdly revisited that way. I mean, I think 5 and 6 got those awful iPad versions with the terrible art and the
I remember,
and the bad tile sets and all of that. They got the worst ones, which is a shame because 6 is a stone cold classic. So I'm assuming this is just we're putting out the original games. Like, what is this? They didn't really explain.
Maybe they just got a copy of RPG Maker and just ported them all into that.
You know what? That might be better.
Well, I mean, it'd be consistent at least.
Yeah.
They were all in the same engine.
I wouldn't put it... Well, if they were to make an RPG game, like RPG Maker game, and then if they were going to release it on Steam, don't they have to fill it entirely with full-paged, big-bosomed ladies?
Well, yeah.
Because isn't that all that game is used... All RPG Maker is used for? Anyway, I'm intrigued to see what that is. I'm not holding out too much hope, because it's... Yeah, Square's Final Fantasy remasters have not generally been good. Especially of the older ones. Crystal Chronicles, I'm looking at you.
I'm not sure that counts.
And we did finally get a gameplay look at Babylon's Fall. Notable because it's...
No, Babylon's Fall.
Babylon's Fall, yeah, not Babylon 5. Notable because it's a Platinum game that was teased with basically some rubbishy-looking bits of book, I guess, pages out like last year. Yeah. We didn't really know anything about it other than it's being made by Platinum. And, well, it sure looks like a Platinum game. You know, it's a character action beat-em-up sort of thing. But weirdly, I don't feel, you know, that's kind of my jam normally. I like what Platinum do there, but I didn't really feel anything for this. I don't know. Even with its, like, really interesting painterly art style. Like, there was some sort of fancy filter they had going on that made it look like everything was kind of like a brushstroke on screen. But in a sort of subtle way. It's a really weird look. And I mean, it kind of looks cool. It kind of looks interesting, like, just from a visual standpoint, or that effect standpoint. But I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just sort of like sitting here, well, why would I play that while I'm hyped for Bayonetta 3? I don't know. Like, it's just...
Well, maybe this will come out before Bayonetta 3.
Oh, it almost certainly will, yeah.
So then you'll be able to. But it's not a Game Pass, so no.
I mean, I wonder if Square gazumped Platinum and just said, look, we'll pay you more money. Right, do this first. Yeah. So, yeah, we got to see a little bit of that. That's all I've got for Square, really. There was a whole load of other really dull-looking stuff, like more RPGs, I guess, more. And
some weird Final Fantasy thing.
Oh, was that the...
Origins, or whatever the hell that's called.
Oh, the Battle Royale game.
No, not the Final Fantasy 7 one.
Oh, right. Not that.
The weird Final Fantasy guy in a t-shirt Final Fantasy, as it's now been known.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah,
Because that makes like direct references to Final Fantasy 1, where you're like fighting Garland, the knight dude, who's the bad guy in Final Fantasy 1. It's just like, what the hell is this shit?
Was that also no? That was Ninja Theory. I should have made a note on this. Yeah, that was Ninja Theory. So that's the Ninja Gaiden studio doing a Final Fantasy game,
Maybe a Final
but it's a character action game, also like Babylon's Fall. So Square have basically got the two kings of character action games working on character action games,
but weirdly, like, badly somehow.
Yeah, they don't. Neither one is pushing my buttons.
No.
Maybe that'll change when they get closer to release. It's a strange sentence to say, isn't it, though, that one publisher has both of them. And one of them's a Final Fantasy game. What is... Well, okay. Yeah, calm down. It's not. They're not good. They might not be good. Nintendo. Let's talk about Big N.
Let's talk about a good conference, maybe-ish.
It was all right.
Decent.
For a short 40-minute burst, it was all right.
Yeah.
No real surprise. Well, okay, one kind of surprise. Two maybe at a push. Kazuya in the... Was this the anticipated crossover?
I mean, it was super obvious, where it's just like, eventually we're going to get taken in Smash Bros.
Okay.
And then it happened.
Okay, but was everyone expecting Kazuya, and why not Heihachi, right?
Well, because, it's...
Why not Heihachi? I know Kazuya is kind of also the other main character, right? But
I guess how many of these 7 Tekken games have each of them been the main character of?
Yeah, I guess.
Because how many times have they traded back and forth getting thrown into volcanoes?
But the Kazuya we get is old Kazuya, right?
Well, I mean, obviously, because that's how Smash Bros. Does it. You do the original version of the characters.
True, but that's only from there on, it's kind of been mostly about Jin.
Yeah.
Who's like Kazuya's son.
Yep. And the devil.
And the devil gene, yeah. The interesting thing about this is not that it's necessarily that it's Kazuya, but they haven't done the presentation yet on
how it actually works,
how it functions.
But it looks like it's fine nuts.
Yeah, because he's got so many moves. It's which is unusual for Smash Brothers, right? But he almost had a complete move set.
I mean, it's possible that they could just do as instead of Terry or Ryu, where the command inputs just do a stronger version of the normal move, they could just make the command inputs be different moves.
Yeah.
Which, that could be a way to fit that in without adding a whole bunch of new mechanics.
And also mildly terrifying, right, from a Smash perspective.
Well, it's going to be another character that we're never going to be any good at because we're never going to bother to learn. That was inevitable.
I mean, as an outsider, it seems really weird that they started adding actual fighting game characters to Smash Brothers from different fighting game franchises.
Sure, but they've always simplified
on one hand, it makes sense.
Well, they simplified them, but it never I would have preferred it if they'd actually just made them Smash characters. Just give them regular Smash moves. Don't actually put the command inputs in. I mean, it's cool, but it just makes it inconvenient.
The command inputs are cool because they're not a huge addition. They give you only a little bit more power.
Well, I think in Terry's case, it's probably the most important.
Right.
Like Ryu and Ken, you can get away with not having to do them, but with Terry, then the moves are actually quite different between the command input and regular version.
I forget, is it Terry where you have to do a command input to do his Go version?
Yeah, those as well.
I can't remember what the command is even, but
luckily they're not too complicated. But
double quarter circle.
Yeah, for one of them.
Okay, yeah,
and the other one is the zigzag,
Dragon Punch.
Yeah, I think so.
Classic Dragon Punch.
But the trouble is, I find it's a Smash Brothers thing that I find with playing that game is just because it's Smash Brothers. I'm not adapted to playing, actual fighting game techniques.
Yeah.
But
I reckon you'd be really good at them, though.
Well, sure.
If you put the effort in. You're the sort of player that has enough precision with your control.
But the trouble is that, the Smash Brothers, the rest of Smash Brothers, the way you play that, it's very hard to switch to doing the precise movements when you need to.
I guess, yeah.
And also because, as I think I've talked about it before when we were talking about the other characters in Smash Brothers, the way you have to input it into Smash Brothers is quite slow. It doesn't really recognise the inputs if you try and do it quickly. You have to do it very deliberately.
Which is strange, yeah, because normally in a fighting game you have to do them faster than is almost imaginable.
Yeah.
especially if it's Street Fighter, right? Those motions are like the requirement and timing on Street Fighter moves is insane.
Yeah. So it's just like, that's why it's always annoying for me in Smash Bros. Where it's just like I can't switch back and forth between like constantly tapping the stick all the time and then having to do these very precise slow motions to get it to register.
And they're also kind of annoying in Smash, in this context of Smash, right? Because some of them have a sort of direction lock, like Ryu and Ken do. They sort of end up locking in one direction, and you can sometimes accidentally do the wrong move because there's a difference between quarter circle back and quarter circle forward.
Yeah.
And that's quite annoying.
It'd probably be less annoying if you were playing one-on-one, where you'd actually be locked into facing the right direction the whole time.
Yeah, that would, the way we play it, just for fun, it's not so great. But yeah, for one-on-one fights, yeah, it's probably absolutely fine.
So that was the predictable Smash Bros. Character. They didn't do 2 like people suspected they might.
No, so is this the last in the season?
No, there's one more.
There is one more. Okay. I mean, because I'm not complaining. Kazuya is a good pick.
No,
especially
kind
because
of boring, but obvious.
I mean, the greatest thing is we'll be getting the Tekken music, right? And Tekken music rocks.
Yeah,
they played like some of my
Sweet.
They played one of my favorite tracks during the trailer from Tekken 3, and it's like, yeah, all right, cool, you've got this.
Hopefully, there'll be quite a few.
Oh yeah, I hope so. It's not like they haven't got a billion to pick from.
Well, yeah. What Mii costumes are we going to get from Tekken?
Oh boy, Heihachi, right? That's where Heihachi's going.
Well, I mean, he's already in, isn't he? There's already a Mii costume for...
Oh, is there?
Because they put that back in, right? And Kazuya. He's already a Mii costume.
He's already a Mii costume?
I'm pretty sure that's back in from Smash 4.
Oh, all right. I had no idea they'd done that. I know obviously the Namco link's been in been in Smash before, but
just bring me some weird Tekken characters in Mii costume form.
Okay.
Not that I care, but it'll be
fun. No, I mean I'm never gonna play as them because they still never have made the thing where Mii characters come up in the randomizer, which is obviously how we like to play, but
and they still never made it so you can just hit one button and get random, which is still the most annoying thing about that menu system.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Sort it out, Nintendo. I want my Mii characters to be added into the or at least an option to allow them. Ooh, excuse me, I'm having a weird hiccup phase. I'm getting so heated about Smash. It's about random Smash.
It's because there's different versions of the Miis. That's why it doesn't do it, obviously. Because you can set their moves like in Brawl or whatever.
But then, like, it doesn't matter. Just pick one of them. If you've made them, pick them.
Well, yeah, if you've made them, it should be able to just pick out of those ones, like it would with a random stage.
Because I've only made I haven't even made one of each type. I've made like 2 and then never used them. So then we got Monkey Ball Banana Mania, which normally I would look at and go, ugh, they're making another Monkey Ball game. None of them have been good since 2, right? Or maybe questionably 3. You know, that one on the Wii.
Yeah.
So it turns out that this is basically those first 3 games in a
right, the good ones
in a remastered package, and it's like, oh well, okay then, that's actually kind of okay.
So, just make a new game.
And make it good.
Yeah, make a good new game.
I mean, Banana Blitz, which was the last one, might have been all right. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be sort of okay.
Yeah,
but they're remastering it to take out all the doll logos.
Right? Yeah. I mean, this looked all right. It's important to note that even though it was at the Nintendo conference, it is not a Switch exclusive. It will be on Xbox as well.
Really?
And the ads for that have turned up all over my Xbox, weirdly. Like, it always shows me Monkey Ball now.
I mean, what I want to know is
Game Pass.
I don't know.
I mean, that would be convenient for Rob.
Yeah, I don't know.
What I want to know is for the Switch version, are they going to allow you to use motion controls?
Ooh,
yeah. You use put the Joy-Con on your hand and tilt it like the level.
Yeah, well, I mean, the third game was that, right? That was kind of its thing.
Not that you'd want to, but it'd be fun to try.
I mean, yeah. Oh man, can you imagine though? Some of those levels from the original 2 games are unbelievably difficult, even with a stick. I don't know if motion controls are going to make that any better.
No.
Top tip. Remaster Excite Truck with motion controls.
Game, was it? Was
Sorry?
it Dreamcast? Was it on Dreamcast first, or was
no,
GameCube?
it was GameCube.
Oh.
I don't think the
Oh,
Dreamcast got a version of Monkey Ball.
Don't know why I thought that. It just has that kind of aesthetic.
Because it's
somehow.
Sega.
It was a launch
That's
title,
why-
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or near enough a launch title on GameCube.
Right.
Yeah, it must have been pretty early.
I think it was one of the first games I got for it.
Right.
Or you got for it. One of us
It's a
got it.
launch title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pikmin. Yeah.
Yeah, Monkey Ball was rad. The early Monkey Balls, anyway. Monkey Pocket. Well, no, what was it? Monkey Pool or something? Monkey Snooker. But it's like that's just always the thing. When you sunk one, it just always went pocket.
But you don't want that. You want gliding.
Monkey Target.
Yep.
Oh, but that became like as soon as you learned how to cheese it, it's like it became less and less interesting.
True.
You want that like that's the stupid boxing glove game.
No, you don't.
That thing was awesome.
Well, you want that game with functional physics, maybe. Because the way it actually worked was really badly.
Yeah, you might be right. I loved it though. It was a lot of fun. Well, also on the throwback count, let's talk about Mario Party Superstars briefly.
Man, this sucks.
Okay, not exactly the reaction I was expecting.
Well, I mean, they're putting out another Mario Party so soon after the last one, which admittedly it's not like a sequel, it's a collection, I suppose,
Yeah,
if you can call it that.
it's like is it? It's not every minigame.
No.
Is it? It's a hand picking of
Well, it's also
old minigames from like the first 3 games.
Yeah, it's from Mario Party 1, 2, and 3. They're like, here's like some of the minigames and 5 of the levels. It's just like, that's really
really?
pathetic.
So it's only. I didn't catch that detail. So it's only 5 of the boards.
Yeah, from the first 3 games, which means like 1 each.
Weak.
Yep, real weak.
I mean,
It's like if this was a DLC for the current Mario Party, fine, but
that would actually rock, right? If it was that, because then you'd get all of the new stuff, all of the new mini games, all the old mini games mixed in as
Yeah.
well. If you could just mix, I mean, this is the thing about Mario Party, right? It would be at its best if you mixed everything they've
If you
ever
just
done.
remade all of them and put it in one game. Yes.
Yeah, but they don't
Except
want
for the thing that injures your hand.
Well,
yeah,
sure.
yeah, let's not do that.
I mean, that is the interesting thing about this, because it will have mini games from Mario Party 1.
But they won't do that, surely.
Well, presumably not.
I mean, imagine the amount of Joy-Con drift
Yep.
you're going to create.
Fuck your Joy-Cons up real bad.
Yeah. I mean, presumably you have to do that to fight Bowser at the end of Mario 64 in that All Mario All-Stars collection.
Yeah, but you don't have to spin him that fast.
No,
No, that's true.
it's not like how it was encouraging you to here.
So, yeah, I wonder what they'll do for that.
I mean, it's a shame.
Because you can't not have... Like, some of those minigames were the best ones.
Yeah. It's a shame because they really could make something great out of it, but they repeatedly don't because money, right? It's the only thing. They can get away with making these smaller Mario Party games when all anyone ever wants is, like, just put them all together.
Yeah.
You don't even have to make new stuff. Just put all the old stuff together. And this is kind of what they've tried, but they've dropped it. They've dropped balls so far outside of the field.
Yep. It's kind of weak. And also,
It's like an England versus Scotland game, you know.
I found it kind of, like, weird that they have literally just patched in online to the last Mario Party. And then this this one comes out. It's like, oh, it's got online. What a coincidence!
Well, they have it.
It's like it's kind of obvious that they were kind of working on the technology for this new game and in testing it in the old game almost.
I mean, it was good that they at least said you can play it with people online and save an online game, and it's like great. You did it. You got that. I wonder how that works. Like when you invite them back, do there has to be the same players, or can you invite anyone to fill those roles? Or...
Yeah, that is. Because it's not like you have an account exactly on the Switch. Well, I guess
you do, yeah. And I wonder if that allows you to do like 2 players locally and 2 players somewhere else, or if it's all a single Switch, which would suck. But would be very Nintendo.
Yep.
What a shame. And then we get to the thing that has been rumoured for a very long time, leaked by name, but no one really knew what it was.
When was it leaked by name though? Because the name had been around since like 2003 when they tried making this game on the 3DS and then it never came out.
Is that the story?
Yeah,
maybe I'm misremembering this.
I think it was can't be 2003. That's too old for the 3DS. But it was a game that supposedly had been even. I think they'd shown something of it behind closed doors to press, and then it just never came out.
Oh,
which is where this name comes from.
Right.
It's probably not the same game. They're probably just reusing the name.
Yeah, no, I highly doubt. Maybe they took the same like story concept and kept it, and then just.
Because it is Metroid 5, like it explicitly comes after Fusion.
Yeah, and they even called it that in the trailer, right? For a moment, they said Metroid 5. So they make Metroid Dread is going to be a new 2D entry in the Metroid series.
That looks like it plays a lot like the remake of 2.
And I like the fact that they said it's been 19 years since we did one of these, and I'm like, okay, so we're totally disregarding Other M then? They're like, does that count as a 2D one? Like,
you can move in the Z axis.
There's a bit, yeah,
somewhat.
But also, let's not think about Other M.
No, obviously.
I mean, it's got kind of an interesting vibe, I guess. Red or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if I liked the look of it at the start of the trailer, honestly, because like Samus isn't in her normal red; she's in that weird white suit.
Yeah, but the fusion suit was fucking blue and yellow.
I know, and I know that's not.
So this
good
is
either.
an improvement.
Yeah, mildly, I suppose. So I'm not sure if I was on board with the general look of it up until you actually then saw the gameplay, and I'm like, yep, that's Metroid. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's fine.
I wanted to say about this Metroid. What I was trying to remember, where the hell does that bird noise come from that they're using for the robot? Because I know that bird sound effect.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then they reverse it to try and like mask it, but it's clearly just that like several notes of bird sound that I've heard somewhere before, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
It's not like the Mario Party garden bird, is it? That like whenever you're outside, it was go woo 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 woo.
Yeah, maybe. Because my two theories were it was either Settlers 3, because I know it's not Settlers 2.
Oh yeah, the Settlers 2 one.
Or it's 7 Days to Die, because there's conclusive evidence from before that Nintendo have used the same sound library as 7 Days to Die when they used that suitcase opening sound effect in Luigi's Mansion 3 that I recognised.
Right, yeah.
Because I was like, maybe they're still using the same sample set as 7 Days to Die again.
There's definitely some vintage sound effects going around. I still get confused when like TV shows use like this is the closing of a bar door or something. That classic kick-link sort of closed noise. Like, I think it was in GoldenEye on the N64 as well. And I'm like, why do you still feel the need to use these stock sound effects like that everyone recognizes? Why couldn't you, or like the door opening creak? Right, that's a classic.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, and it's always the same one. How difficult would it be to record a squeaky door and use that?
I just thought it was very weird that it's just like they're using this clearly bird sound effect, except now it's a robot. They're using it for robotic beeps, and then they're trying to hide it by reversing it as well.
No Metroid Prime 4.
No, they said it exists.
Like, yep, they gave it some lip service, but said it's still coming, but no.
Play this game instead, which is like so many years in the future compared to Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Storyline wise.
But hey, it looked alright.
Speaking of that, just like that finally reminded me, because I saw someone else talking about this and they said it reminded me what the Parasite version of Samus is actually called. It's called SAX. That's actually its name.
Sax?
Yep. Well, it's SA-X.
Play that sax.
Because it's X-Parasite Samus.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. Play that sax.
Will there be Metroids in this game?
Yes.
I'm really hoping not. I mean, I'm hoping not in Metroid Prime 4, but that's like that's back in the past when Metroid still exists. I'm hoping by Metroid 5, maybe we can get away from Metroids. Because we already had the X-Parasite in Fusion.
Maybe they'll avoid it. I mean, with these new
robot things,
aliens, and
Would they be Dread Metroids?
Yeah, probably.
Potentially.
Probably.
Emotional Metroids.
Gonna get in your head, but not with the pincers.
And then it turns into that episode from Red Dwarf, the polymorph.
Oh, man.
It steals your emotions.
Oh, man.
That's classic.
But Samus is always so, like...
Yeah, Samus doesn't have emotions to steal, which makes her invulnerable to the Dread Parasite.
I'm the only one! Yes, because it's been so long since Other M, she's lost all her emotions again.
She didn't have that many. Well, the other thing that I saw...
I mean, that was the whole thing, right? She had emotion in Other M. That was the problem. That was one of the many problems.
Right, yes. There was another thing that I saw that was kind of interesting about the brief cuts they showed of cutscenes in Dread. You see what appears to be an actual Chozo.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's touching a computer screen and turning something on. And then you also see a Chozo statue, and it's just like, okay, well...
Have we found some footage of old Chozos?
Yeah, do they actually exist?
Is it Chozo or Chozo?
Whatever.
I like Chozo.
Yeah.
Like Chocobo.
Yeah, exactly.
Chorizo.
Chorizo. Yep, we've got that. Let's have some... Okay, this just confused me. So I'm going to mention Cruise and Blast, not because I think it's good,
Yeah.
or because it deserves a mention, just because... Wait, Cruisin'? That's still a thing? And this was an arcade game?
Yep. I think it came out on the Wii U as well, maybe. This game.
Oh, right. Oh, weird. So it's a Switch port of a Wii U game. They didn't mention that. I mean, it had like a giant donut at one point.
That's all that stood out. Giant donuts.
Yeah, what a weird thing. Okay, this is clearly auto-corrected in my list here because I've got MarioWare.
Yeah, it's definitely not MarioWare.
No, they're making another WarioWare game called Get It Together. And this is, I don't know about you, like WarioWare should be like, yay, but it's, this like most WarioWare games, this has come across as a bit of a bummer to me, just because of how it controls. So it's still, still a micro game collection, as WarioWare should be.
Yeah.
But they've changed it so it's all you're controlling a character within the micro games now. So it's like it feels like there's one unified control scheme for the entire game, except some of the characters have different abilities and may do things, and every character can interact with every micro game. But that kind of bummed me out, right? Because the whole thing for me about WarioWare is being like utterly confused and surprised by what it's throwing at you the first time you play it. That's kind of the joy. Like, it's just kind of like, what am I doing? What is this?
Maybe, but like the whole point of it was like it had so few different controls anyway that it was easy to work things out in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, I have to push A,
just like
right?
push button.
Push button. Push button with appropriate time. Mash the toilet roll.
Like, it might actually be harder to work out what you're doing if you're playing as a character with an ability and you have to figure out how that ability interacts with the game that you're in.
I guess, yeah. Maybe it's better. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure, I think.
I think the problem with it is that it's just like a JPEG of the characters slapped on top of the minigame.
Yeah,
it's not like they're in the game.
No, or the character you're playing is even styled to the game,
No.
the micro game. It's just like, no, it's just the weird, terrible art of WarioWare slapped on top of the retro art of the micro games. It's really odd.
Yeah, that feels like that could have been an opportunity to do it a bit more fancy.
So you kind of interested in, what's it called?
WarioWare Get It Together, because it has co-op games now as well. That's the...
Because you can have one Joy-Con each, obviously.
Yeah.
Convenient. In a WarioWare game, how holding a Joy-Con each actually makes sense. Because you only need probably one button, maybe two.
I think the last WarioWare... I don't know if this was the last WarioWare game, but the last one I really enjoyed was the one on Wii. Like, I haven't played it a huge amount, but I thought... Because they tried to do the same micro game thing, but they did it with a set number of Wii controls.
Yeah, motion controls.
And so it would give you like a 2-second warning before each game to be like, hold the controller like this, and then the game would start. So it was a bit of a different pace for WarioWare, but it kind of worked, and it was kind of good fun. It kept that whole, like, what's coming up next? What kind of madness am I about to do with the controller? Ooh, motion.
And as everyone says about WarioWare, why is there no best of compilation of this as well? I mean,
Yeah.
there was. I think they already did that, but
They had,
But in the same way-
WarioWare Gold happened.
yeah, in the same way as Mario Party, it's just like you made a bad selection and it wasn't enough.
Yeah, why not just pick them all?
Just shove them all in there.
What are you even doing? So that's a thing. They showed Mario Golf again.
Yep, that's practically out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the big stuff. Let's talk about Breath of the Wild 2, which still hasn't got a name.
He's totally skipped over one very important but not really thing.
I mean, they showed Mario and
Advance
Rabbids
Wars.
again.
Advance
You actually want to talk about that? Because I thought that was boring because it's like the first two Advance Wars games just redone again. It's like, that's not what we want.
I mean, the thing is, like, it's not actually very exciting at all because it is just the first two games. But I mean, they are hella old at this point, so maybe it's okay to re-release them to the audience that you have now.
So are we talking, hang on, because like Advance Wars as a series has actually been around quite a lot longer than the GBA, right? There was some NES style
the
ones.
Famicom War ones don't necessarily count as being Advance Wars.
Okay.
Like
right.
once it
So
became
this is-
Advance Wars, it became a separate.
So this is the first two GBA games.
Yeah.
Right.
But like,
And it's got a 3D art style now. And
well, I mean, that's as I've always said about Advance Wars and a lot of other games, you're never going to beat actual pixel art.
Nope.
But this is probably the best attempt that I've seen, really, at trying to have a style that fits with the old pixel art sprites.
It looked all right, but it didn't look great.
No. I mean, the characters look better than the units, I would say. Like,
Right, yeah,
the weird anime-style characters,
they looked
they
fine.
translated okay.
They looked fine.
The units looked a bit, like, too plasticky.
They didn't look very well defined, right?
Yeah.
Like without those extra harsh lines that they for some reason didn't put in, they just looked like kind of a blue mush.
Yeah, and they also, for some reason, I guess, it's almost like they overcompensated, where they made like the infantry over animate, like they wiggle like super way too much. Whereas obviously in Advance Wars they didn't animate basically at all.
Right.
Like when the infantry run up and they do the rockets, they just stop and then a rocket comes out. But in this game they're like whoa, like they're wobbling around and it's way too much. But they did a decent job of translating the fight scenes, I think, probably.
Could they have perhaps done like an intentional stop motion look to it then? So they're still 3D models, but their legs only have like 2 frames or something.
Maybe. And the other trouble with the art style is that, of course, particle effects don't hide the, how it actually works as well as pixel animation explosions, for example, where like aircraft just disappear in a poof. And it's like that doesn't work as well when it's not like a pixel explosion that kind of covers up the fact that the sprites just changed. But yeah, apart from that,
unless the explosion's big enough or punchy
sure.
enough, then it's fine. But
they evidently haven't quite pulled that off.
Yeah.
But I mean, the main thing to say about this is like, get some hype for Advance Wars and maybe they'll make a new one at last.
Yeah, I mean, this could be one of those cases where it's like, I mean, I guess it could be one of those cases where it's like, if this sells well, maybe this is enough of a kick to be like, oh, right, Advance Wars, let's make another one.
Yeah.
Because we still haven't seen one since,
I guess, potentially.
Yeah, because we haven't seen one since Days of Ruin, right?
Yeah.
On the DS.
Blimey, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. Stop making Fire Emblem. Make one of these.
Well, I mean, that is the classic problem, where it's just like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
People started to be like, oh, Fire Emblem, and then they just made a bunch of Fire Emblem, so maybe now we can get hype for Advance Wars, and they'll make a bunch of Advance Wars.
Please.
But probably not.
I'll be much more interested in but they probably make an Advance Wars in the crappy new art style. So like,
well, maybe because I could easily see this being like a remake art style where it's like this was relatively quick and easy and cheap to make.
Yeah, probably. Oh, this is what we could pull off during lockdown, guys.
Yeah.
All right, then Breath of the Wild 2, then
I guess
right.
It was weird how they ended with like they were like we've got
one
one more
thing,
thing, except it was
Skyward
like 3
Sword.
things.
Yeah.
Or 4 things even.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like, we've got one more thing.
weird.
We've got DLC for Age of Ruin.
Calamity.
Oh, yeah, Age of Calamity, does it? Right,
Not Days of Ruin.
Days of Calamity. And Skyward Sword. Don't forget that.
And a Game & Watch. Don't forget that.
And a Game & Watch. Yeah.
And then eventually Breath of the Wild 2.
Breath of the Wild 2. Which they're still calling Breath of the Wild 2, but apparently it has a real title that they're not telling us yet.
Because of spoilers.
I mean, in which case that's a terrible title, right?
Well, or like maybe not. Maybe it's not necessarily spoilers as much as like mechanical spoilers. Because one of the going theories at the moment about what's going on in the footage they showed is like there's some time travel going on. Right, and I could easily see that factoring into the title, like Hero of Time, or like some, some explicit reference to time, which would make it real obvious.
It's not like time travel is quite well trodden in Zelda.
True.
But yeah, I mean, what were the two? The ball going back up the hill or whatever, and then it sucking up through the ground or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the ball going back up the hill is obviously just like advanced stasis.
Yeah. It looked like you could
because it's yellow.
Yeah,
that's how you can tell.
Yeah,
and then the sucking up in going through the terrain thing. I mean, it's very possible that's like not a Sheikah ability or whatever. That might just be like basically the fast travel between the surface and the sky.
Right,
like teleport points essentially.
Oh, okay, yeah,
it could be. But they showed that like with the water dripping coming up out of the puddle.
Well, but that could just be like that could be like the point on the ground that tells you can teleport upwards. If you see one of these reverse drip pools.
Oh, I see. Yeah, the kind of reverse gravity here means it's like, hey, you can go in the sky here.
Yeah.
But also, you can go in the sky now.
Banging on about Skyward Sword because they're doing the sky again.
And that's where the other theory comes in.
Are they looking at going, well, Skyward Sword was probably the worst Zelda, right? But what if we can take its ideas and make them good?
Because that's the other theory. It's like the theories are either you've got time travel, which there's the indications of that are like when you see from the sky platforms down, like the shrines aren't there, although that could just as easily be like in the future as much as in the past. But like the idea being that like the floating islands existed at some point in time and then they don't in the Breath of the Wild present. But then the other theory is the Skyward Sword theory, which like I haven't played that game, so I'm not actually very well versed in the story of Skyward Sword, but supposedly when you're on the surface, you literally can't see the islands. Like, if you imagine in Breath of the Wild, the skybox is literally a skybox. Like, the islands are there, but you just can't see them.
Oh, right. So they're above the sky.
Which is sort of hinted at as well by when the dragons fly up into the sky, they go into that weird portal and, like, disappear.
Huh.
So that's like them going through the sky layer, essentially.
I mean that's kind of cool if that's true. Because that could mean all kinds of things, story-wise.
Yeah. But supposedly that's more or less how it works in Skyward Sword. It's like, there is a literal barrier, the sky barrier, between the islands and the ground.
It's all about the weird bottom of the sky and Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah, or like the sea in Wind Waker, kind of.
Right,
where there's like Hyrule is down there, but there's just like a barrier. So yeah, that's the other theory about why it appears quite similar to Skyward Sword. And then because
I mean that's kind of neat. What if it is the Skyward Sword layout, and it's like you're actually just they're finally explaining how you break through into different weird realms of Zelda. Like this is what the Zelda timeline is because it's all just stacked.
No, I mean it already always is all just stacked though.
Stacks on stacks on stacks.
And so he's got this. His hand is all corrupted with Ganon,
yes, it appears
Akira stuff.
Calamatan.
It appears that the malice, I guess, is what they technically calling it, gets his hand, but then like the Sheikah Slate gets integrated into his hand, kind of.
He's got a Pip Boy in his arm.
Because when he uses that new stasis thing, you can just see he just uses his hand, like his hand glows, and of course it's the back of the hand. Triforce style,
right?
Yeah.
Was the Triforce? Too. I can't really remember the Triforce references in.
There weren't really any in
Breath of the Wild. No. So maybe that's where it's coming in.
But yeah, it appears that like somehow he's got the Sheikah Slate powers without the slate, which I guess makes sense. Also, no shrines potentially.
If they're doing time travel, does this mean we get to see the return of the little statue things, little sentinel guy from Calamity from Days of Calamity.
Oh, you mean the egg?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a different time travel. That's like that's time travel that happened before this time travel. That's a different branch in the timeline.
All bets are off.
And then the other thing that they show a few elements of is, you see like a big like mech thing being assembled, a floaty mech thing that has like specific designs to it that kind of hint at, because you remember how in Breath of the Wild there's the labyrinths and the barbarian armor that reference like a lost tribe or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what people are saying that is about. The Zonai is just like this other tribe, sort of separate from the Sheikah or whatever, that used to exist in the past. And then maybe they went away, or maybe they went to the sky. There you go.
But who built the 4 robot-y things?
I don't think they've said who built those, right? No, they were built by the Sheikah, right? Because all of that stuff is the Guardians and everything.
Okay, all of that is Sheikah. Okay.
It was all the 10,000 years ago, before it got buried and then dug back up. But yeah, so that obviously that mech that they do show doesn't look like a Sheikah thing at all. It does look like a separate type of technology. So that would make sense to bring in this third ancient race. But you know, that the way his arm glows in that specific green color also makes you think about, you know, Twilight. And the upwarping also is kind of similar to.
Oh right, yeah,
yeah, that's true. So, do you think
no, the Return of Midna?
Yep.
Reusing the any of the landscape or the map or whatever? I mean, you can see it.
Yeah, when they show him running around on the surface, it does just appear to be the regular Breath of the Wild map. Like, people have actually done direct comparisons. Been like, if I run to this specific place in Breath of the Wild and look at what it looks like, it's still the same.
Which is
it's the same.
Both logical in terms of the setting, but also potentially a bummer.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some stuff they could change about it, maybe, without affecting the overall terrain.
I mean, is this like sequel? If it is just that, like, is that a little bit too much like what Master Quest could have been, or some DLC could have been? Like, are we too close to a DLC?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I'm getting that vibe right now.
I mean, there definitely could be. Assuming that they don't make you. They could just make you not do very much on the regular Hyrule. Like, it could just be...
Sure.
The map could just be there, but there's not... You don't have to, like, do the towers, obviously, because those won't probably exist, but you won't have to, like, do the towers that unlock the map and do all these shrines down here. That will all be in the sky, so you, like, be
but then why put it there? Like,
well, just because it's a convenient place to travel through to get between the islands. Like,
maybe. And
maybe they're not... Maybe it'll be, like, you won't have to...
Maybe it's like quite actually nice place right now.
Well, sure. But I mean, there's still enemies, obviously, because they showed them. But maybe it's just more like you don't have to spend much time there because you already know it from the last game. You can just travel around.
It's an assumption.
And they obviously are trying to put more new enemy stuff in because they show, you know, a talus with goblins riding on top of it.
Yeah. But then that's not new massively. That's another one of those things that makes me go, DLC. They could have done this already.
I mean, there's definitely potential that if they do keep most of if it is just the regular Hyrule map, then like, well, or maybe they could just go all the way to the Age of Calamity route, and basically it is that Hyrule map, but like closed into corridors essentially by stuff. Make the what used to be the overworld map almost like a fast travel system where you just travel along these passages between the warp points.
Yeah, I mean that's the most likely outcome, that it's the same map but there are just lots of inaccessible bits.
I don't know. It just seems weird.
Because otherwise the game would be enormouser, right?
Well, sure.
It's already pretty big.
It's essentially 2 whole maps stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
With the islands above and the regular Hyrule below.
Or it's the other way around and the island stuff isn't actually that much more area.
Yeah, but then that doesn't make this a new game. That's the trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to assume that the island content is going to be like the amount of content there was in Breath of the Wild, and then the Breath of the Wild land is just like extra.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Unless the sky is just the equivalent of the shrines. I don't know.
Also, it's a very weird thing that, like, after the initial, like, teasers and whatnot, being all about caves and underground, none of this game appears to be in caves or underground.
Opposite.
It's like, you do that right at the start, then it's all the sky.
Yeah, I mean, there might be dungeons.
But they might be in the sky as well.
Sky dungeons.
In fact, they do kind of, in one of the shots of the sky, you can see like a big something sticking out of the clouds that seems to be a major structure in the sky world.
I do think that's the thing they could do, hit the return to traditional dungeons.
Well, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what everyone thinks that they should do.
Scungeons.
But they still haven't shown, like, I mean, I was going to say they haven't shown much of it, but I don't think there is much to show. It's just like it plays the same as Breath of the Wild, and that's it, really.
I mean, they haven't talked about the important stuff, though, right? Like, what about the weapon breakage and
they're not going to talk about that.
changes to how that works and how the combat works and how the cooking works? More elaborate cooking, come on.
Well, that is the question. It's just like, would they expand on any of the actual mechanics, or would they
take
add
them
new
out,
ones?
Do they take some out and replace them with other things?
'Cause,
Like, do we get Majora masks coming into play?
Because if we're going back to like weapon breaking, it's like one of the things that people said would be an obvious complement to the weapon breaking would be to have weapon crafting, like allow you to make the weapons you want with materials.
Why not?
And then the same for like cooking. It's just like that system was fine, but it could be way more complicated, or well, not complicated, like more
Slightly fewer options that create dubious food.
well. Yeah, it's not that difficult to avoid dubious food once you know how the system works. It's like it's not necessarily that it's complicated. It's hidden, and a lot of it is useless.
Yeah,
Just like there's a whole ton of weird recipes you can make, but they're all pointless.
yeah, make them useful. Although they probably would just solve that by having some sort of gourmand you meet, and he's like, make every dish,
like Paper Mario,
and it gives you something. Yeah, or I mean that happened in what was that game? Spiritfarer as well. Make every dish.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that wasn't already in Breath of the Wild. Like with the Sheikah Slate, take photos of everything, and
Oh yeah,
take photos of
that's
every
true.
type of food, except you can't put the food out.
Final Fantasy 15's most gorgeous render food.
Exactly.
Those are some hella good looking food.
And obviously, the other important question about this trailer, which still remains unanswered, is what happens to Zelda? She falls in a hole. So does that definitely mean that we're not going to be playing as Zelda in any way, and probably not going to be seeing her the whole game?
What you reckon? Or maybe
Or is
there's
that
a
double.
Yeah, I'm hoping
Bluff.
there could be like there's a second character.
I mean, it would be fucking ridiculous and like probably way too much work to be like, you play as Link in the sky, you play as Zelda underground, and then there's a whole like underground map.
And the two have to what? You'd have a hot swap between them.
Yeah. Like you could just, or like GTA 5, you just zoom out and then go to the other character.
Zelda becomes Linkle.
Because like she could totally have the Sheikah Slate.
Yeah.
She could fall down the hole with the Sheikah Slate. Link gets his arm version of the Sheikah Slate, and then they both have one.
I mean, she's clearly trained in Sheikah Slate usage.
No, not from Age of Calamity. That doesn't count.
But she was like, I mean,
she does have to use the camera. That's certain in Breath of the Wild.
I mean, is that timeline canon at all? Like, no.
Well, spoilers for the end of Age of Calamity, but like that whole time loop gets kind of closed off entirely.
I mean, sure. I mean, I knew that was coming, but like, what if? I mean, the point they go back to, and the first time you see Zelda in combat, she's already knows how to use the damn slate pretty well. Like, so if even with the time loop thing, she knows it all.
In Age of Calamity, you have all the skill, all the Sheikah Slate abilities that you shouldn't be able to have because they come out of shrines in Breath of the Wild.
I suppose that's true.
So no one should be able to do combat with the Slate.
Unless it was all known and like the whole Calamity, what caused the slate to forget them all, or it's a brand new slate you find and it hasn't just downloaded the upgrades. It hasn't downloaded the Stasis app yet.
right at the start of Age of Calamity, they don't say where that slate comes from, right? It's just that they
just have one.
They're bringing it to the researchers at the Sheikah place. So yes, I guess maybe that was like in that timeline. Maybe they found a better version of the slate that had all its information on it.
They found one that had spent a lot of credit on the Sheikah App Store, and then.
But yes, I don't think that counts. All we know for certain from Breath of the Wild lore is that the camera existed.
Right.
That was definitely the only ability that we know for certain existed 100 years ago.
Yeah, you'd have to pay for that. It's just included. Don't need your shrine bucks.
So that's coming out next year, apparently.
Yeah. It's not this year.
Well, no.
I mean, WarioWare, get it together, Nintendo. We need some more.
It's only been 2 years. I mean, that's not that long.
Well, it's been a while since Breath of the Wild came out. It's been more than 2 years since that came out, but 2 years since we've known about it, I guess.
But you're also getting 2 Zelda games on the same console, so what are you complaining about?
I know. I mean,
that's true.
When was the last time that happened? The Wii, I guess, if you count the fact that it had
technically.
but the N64 properly, I guess, or the DS, if you want to count the handhelds.
Well, sure,
yeah.
That maybe doesn't count. The other question about it coming out next year is there is a minor possibility that we might be talking like March next year for like the anniversary of the Switch's release date.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because also technically the anniversary of Breath of the Wild's release date.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't bet on it. I'd
No.
definitely say it's probably going to be holiday next year.
But maybe that's what they were gunning for until things went sour with the world.
Potentially.
Sour world.
So that's that. That's Nintendo.
Yep. Not a lot left. Given that we're running short on time, there's not a lot left, fortunately. Dying Light 2 was mentioned at the PC Gaming Show, which is, again, only notable because, boy, that's a long-running game we keep hearing stuff about that never seems to come out.
Yeah.
But it's coming out. It's coming out in December. Finally a thing. I guess Microsoft didn't care this time because Microsoft were pushing this first.
Yeah.
Maybe they fell out. I don't know. Yep, so there's that. The only other thing I really noted from the PC Gaming Show, which was again a whole load of a lot. I wouldn't say bad games, just not interesting games to me. The one that stood out other than those was Tinykin, which looked like you're a kid that's mysteriously a cartoon nut style kid that's been like shrunk down, so it's like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids in your own house. But it looked like it was a platformer, and you had kind of Pikmin-like things you could gather and throw at things, and so a platformer Pikmin, maybe? But I think that only really stood out because, hey, it looked like no other game at the show.
Right.
Maybe. It looked alright. Future Gamer Show, couple of takeaways. Timberborn, because it looked a bit like a Zack game. It looked like Banished, but you're controlling beavers instead of people.
Oh, that's been out for a while.
Timberborn?
Maybe in early access.
Oh, right, I see.
I've seen that on Steam.
Okay.
Plenty.
That looked very much like a U game. And this next one actually looks properly decent. It's called Harold Halibut. And
nice.
It's an adventure game, like a point. It looks a bit like a point and click, but it's got a hell of a style. So it's stop motion esque. So they've made all the sets and made all the characters for real as models, Wallace and Gromit style, I guess. And then scanned them into a game engine so they can animate them and things like that. But it's all using real. As a result, you end up with a game that's like obviously has the flexibility of being done in game engine, but looks like a stop motion production. And it just looks fantastic. It really does. Like check out that trailer. It's a great looking game.
What's it called again?
Harold Halibut.
Harold Halibut, as in the fish.
As in the fish.
Is there a fish involved?
Well, kinda. Yeah. So
I was kind of hoping it was like a James Pond situation.
Well, the plot line is like you're not actually a halibut. You're a dude. But the plot line is it's like a colony ship was sent away from Earth after Fizz, the Cold War was going to make everything go bad here. So they went out to the stars. I think something went wrong naturally, and they've ended up undersea on some other planet. That's the fish reference you get. And I guess the rest of humanity that's on this ship is just kind of like doesn't care, and it's all like, well, we'll just live on the ship then, under the sea.
Okay.
But you're still trying to do the research and stuff like that. You're still trying to do your job, effectively. But it looks damn cool. Check this thing out. So even if you just look at it. Just look at it. Other news. Or other minor bits. Cyberpunk. We still don't know when it's getting its next-gen update. But it is at least purchasable on PS4 now.
Right.
Sony gave up. I don't think anything particularly happened to like make Sony say this game's good now. It's just that I guess enough time has passed, and Sony don't care anymore. So hey, you can buy Cyberpunk for PS4 again now if you really want to. And Pokemon Unite was announced somewhere outside of anything. Like not an event or any kind of thing. It's just they announced it. It's a Pokemon... Well, no, I think we knew about it before, but they showed it a little bit. It's a Pokemon MOBA. It's a Pokemon MOBA. A MOBA's still a thing?
Well, in the same way as just like everyone tried to remake World of Warcraft. Whereas like when we're reaching the end of everyone's trying to remake MOBAs.
Hey, I thought that had passed. That's the thing. Like,
well, there's always a couple of trailing ones.
Yeah. I mean... you tried to take on League of Legends and Dota 2 and everyone else lost, right?
Yeah, no one was going to win. It's just like, how much of that, how many percents can you get?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Awesome Naught's got me for a bit. That's sort of a MOBA. Sort of.
So this will be kid-friendly because Pokemon.
Maybe.
Because Pokemon. And no voice chat, probably.
Presumably. It's one more bit of news.
Ooh, what else you got?
Well, it's sort of parallel to E3. On Steam, they're doing a Steam Next Fest, which is basically just a shit ton of demos.
Yeah, this is where that Sable demo comes from.
Oh, right.
If you want to play demos of a whole goddamn ton of indie games, then you've got, like, they're doing it for basically this entire week, and they're just doing rolling live stream footage of developers playing these games, but also the actual demos come out, so...
You might as well play those.
Goddamn ton of demos, which is nice, because, demos. Fucking demos.
So one thing I haven't talked about that wasn't a missing item, actually, I can't remember where it showed. I think it might have shown up at Summer Games Fest, and I, for some reason, didn't write a note about, was Tunic?
Right, yeah, the Fox Zelda.
Fox Zelda, yeah. That has a demo. I played that demo. Because boy, I've been waiting to hear something from Tunic for years. I came away a bit disappointed, if I'm honest. Like, it looks the part. I love its vibe. I love the look of it, but its combat feels a bit Bloodborne-y, like a bit like Soulsy, in that your swings aren't as you press the button. It's not like Zelda snappy.
Right.
It's like there's a bit of weight to your attacks, and there's your animation driven by everything. And you have a stamina bar, and your shield is stamina driven.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know if I like this. And it was hard. Like, I found the demo really quite difficult. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the vibe I was looking for after all. It's supposed to be a cute Fox Zelda.
But then you have to subvert it by making it Dark Souls.
By making it hardcore, yeah. I don't know. I'll keep my eye on it. It's like it does look good.
I've also played a bunch of... I've already played, like, 3 demos, but I guess we don't have time to talk about that now, so we'll talk about that next one.
No, we can talk about it. It's fine.
Well, I mean, maybe. Some of them I don't need to say much about. I played... one of them I can't barely even... Oh, there was another bit of news that's not one of these demos, by the way, but might be a demo shortly. I saw a game that's maybe been in beta on like a Kickstarter type thing for several years called Starmancer.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is basically... Well, they say it's a sci-fi dwarf fortress. Like, that's their reference. But I'd say it's more like a sort of Oxygen Not Included / Dungeon Keeper.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's got like the heart and you're like your central core, and then you you
build the ship around
yes,
it.
you build rooms, not really dig them out, but it's essentially the same thing. You're like drawing the rooms onto the map, and then you like decorate them and assign furniture or whatever into them to make them them do the jobs. And it has the oxygen not included kind of like you go into the overlay for like here's the water piping and here's the oxygen vents and that kind of thing. So it's got that element to it. But yeah, that seems like that may be coming towards some kind of early access release /
Yeah, I saw something about. I think that came up at Future Game Show.
Yeah, I think that might have been one of the things that was shown. But yeah, I was sort of interested in that. But then in terms of actual demos that I have played, I played there's one I don't really remember the name of. It was called, what was it called? World Turtles? It's like where it's basically
I love that name already.
It's basically like, Discworld.
Okay.
Like the disc world on the back of the turtle thing.
Yeah.
But
turtles all the way down.
Well, it's only one turtle. Except so the way it's described is like you're meant to be. First of all, you're meant to like save your turtle because it's in trouble for some reason, and then maybe it'll meet up with other turtles, and the worlds will collide and that kind of thing. But like, it's trying to be a sort of a Settlers 2-esque thing. Well, it's a hex grid, which makes it feel like Settlers 2 at least. But you're building little buildings and then paths between them, and then they harvest wood and all that stuff.
Has it got that bird noise?
It doesn't have that bird noise, no. But yeah, that demo was kind of like that felt a bit too early.
Okay.
Like, it was quite jank, and there was definitely some bugs that I could eat. Well, the first time I tried to play it, it literally bugged out on the first building I built and never completed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which wasn't helpful. And then the second time I played it, I had one building later on that got bugged out and never completed as well. But yeah, so that was kind of weird. But it's definitely going for that kind of Settlers. Even when you place down a building, like, the builders have to level the land a little bit in that Settlers 2 style.
That's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, but like it definitely is a very indie.
Right, yeah.
You can definitely feel it.
Too indie right now.
Yeah.
But World Turtles, though.
Yeah, World Turtles.
World Turtles.
Second thing I played was Farlanders, which I was trying not to get confused with Starmancer because it's the same cadence of words. Farlanders. This one isn't technically a demo, except it is, because it's called Farlanders Prologue. But it's just like they've released a separate game that's the intro to this other game.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's somewhat smart, right? Because I kind of like demos that do that, because it means I don't know, I feel like the demo is actually a sort of special thing then. And I don't feel like when I get to the real game, it's all like, oh, I've done this.
Yeah, and this game is trying to do that sort of story-wise as well, but I feel like it's still going to get ported into the actual game as well anyway.
Yeah.
Because the idea of this game is it's a Mars colonization effort. So you're building a little colony on Mars. But in this prologue version, it's like the test colonies on Earth where you're doing you're doing these sort of first versions of these colonies to see if it's viable.
That's kind of cool.
Which is kind of cool. It has a little story of like this. It's like a private space exploration corporation, and then there's a secret mission that they're going to do once they get to Mars that you're not allowed to know about. But just build this colony; it's fine. But this and this
is it a reality TV show?
Yes, it actually is.
It actually is. Okay.
Well, no, that's their cover front.
For the prologue.
Not necessarily. That's how they're getting money, is like they're making a reality TV show and getting sponsorships and like getting subscriptions to their live streams and that kind of stuff. But the actual mission is more secret. But yeah, this game is like, it's a colony building thing, but it's this game and the next game I'm going to talk about in a minute are both sort of puzzle builders. Like you can't just build stuff at random. You actually have to build stuff carefully in a certain order, and it's like a loop. Like you build houses to get more people, and then the people need food, so you need to build farms, and then the farms need water, so you need to build water. But then the way the terrain works is where it's a randomly generated map, but because certain buildings can be only built on certain terrain, and buildings have adjacency bonuses to each other, and some buildings have certain types of terrain they need to be next to or on. So you're having to look at the map and see how you can deal with that. But then one of the other things that happens is every few turns you get a terraforming ability. But the terraforming abilities are like little they're like these little grids of icons that show you what the terraforming is going to do, but it can do different things. So you can have like one tile that turns into a mountain, one tile that gets flattened, and one tile that turns into water. But because it's on like a little grid, it's like a template that you have to put down. So you have to rotate it to fit, and
I see.
And because of the
so
way
you can't terraform perfectly, you have to do it.
You have to do a certain combination of things at once, and some of those things have to be on a certain tile. So you have to fit this template into the map, and it won't allow you to do it unless the icons match up to the underlying terrain or whatever.
Interesting.
So it's like this. It's a puzzle to
optimize.
Well, to optimize your terraforming abilities and still progress your colony to meet your goals or whatever.
Colony building / wet tricks. I'm in.
Yeah, kind of.
Rubber duck bonus.
You do indeed fill up the canyons with the mountain tiles, and then if you place the mountain tiles, they turn into mountains.
Yeah.
Just let you stack them up. And then the other game, the last game that I need to talk about this week, since I've already downloaded two more of these demos, is another sort of puzzle builder game that Rob mentioned before the podcast, Terra Nil.
All right, yep.
It's the what they call reverse factory builder, where you're starting with a wasteland and you have to build buildings to turn it back into a biosphere.
Right.
Bring the plants.
The factories have been.
Yeah, the world is completely fucked up now. Unfuck it.
Yeah, garden it.
But yeah, this is a similar also puzzle builder thing, because you have a currency, which is like greenery is your currency. And then so when you're placing buildings down, it costs that. But then when you spread the greenery over the terrain, you get it back. So when you're placing the irrigators that actually convert like clean soil into green, it has like a number on them as you're moving them around that tells you whether it's profitable or not.
Okay.
The building costs 50, but if you place it in the right place, you might gain like 150 back. So you've got this sort of puzzle element of making sure you're doing things in an optimal kind of way.
Spend money to make money.
Yeah. But then it progresses through like 3 tiers of, like, first you're decontaminating the land and getting grass, and then you move on to like biomes where you're building specific, like you have to grow flowers in certain areas or make wetlands along the edge of the rivers. And then for the forest, you actually have to burn down a section of the map to make ash, and then you can build the forest on top of that. So you have like this, make sure you don't burn everything by accident kind of thing. Don't let the fire spread too far. And then in the third phase, you basically have to demolish everything you've built. Like you have to repackage all of the buildings and ship them all back into one central place and then just leave. It's like, you have to take it all down at the end.
You've done your job and now get out.
Yeah. So that's kind of a nice little relaxing kind of...
I guess, does that mean they can like make specific puzzles then?
Well, the thing is, the map in the demo, and it seems like the rest of the game, they're procedurally generated, but I assume that's going to be like procedurally generated with certain conditions, like this map is more flat and this map is more mountainous or whatever. But the trouble is, it feels like from the demo and from like earlier versions of this game that's been like on like itch.io or whatever, the older versions, it feels like they might have kind of given away all their ideas just in this demo. Like, I'm not sure how much more there is to like tech trees or whatever, because you don't really unlock anything apart from these 3 stages. There's no like research or anything. You're not really unlocking new abilities.
I think it's fallen into the trap of the old demo, where it's just like the demo is mechanically so much of the game that it's like the real thing adds more, but not actually that much in mechanics.
Because I can't see how much the different maps can do to vary it up.
Right.
Because at a certain point, all you're starting with is a wasteland of dirt, some river channels, and some hills, and it's just like there's only so many ways you can put those 3 things together.
The gas mining guild turns up in the middle of your mission and messes up your plans.
Yeah, maybe there's some kind of environmental effect that like undoes some of your work or something. I don't know. So yeah, that's that. And then I've already downloaded 2 more games, but I'll talk about them on the next podcast, and probably a whole bunch more because it's demo time.
Yeah. I normally forget to actually engage with this, because, time is a bit of a problem for me some weeks. So I think the last few years when Next Fest has come around, I just haven't played the demos. And it's like, I'm going to make an effort to play Sable at least. Check that out.
Yeah, that one looks cool.
And have a bit of a browse around and see what else is interesting, because that's the kind of the problem. There's so many of them.
Yes, that is the problem. But luckily they are using, if you go onto Steam and go onto the next page, the next best page. Yes, the next best page. They're using the like Steam Lab style filtering. So you can be like filtered by genre, and you can select multiples at the same time if you want. So it just gives you a list, and you can
does
filter
it have a
it down
sort of recommended for you?
Yeah, it has one of those as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Although I feel like it's not. Those ones for me haven't really changed over the past 3 days, and considering how many of these errors have been happening, it feels like it's kind of got locked in with what's there
and what it initially thought. Yeah.
But yes, you can definitely go in there and rummage around, find a bunch of demos.
Have a rummage for your next fest. Rummage. It's a great word.
Yep.
Rummage.
Well, we've been rummaging around in the E3 conferences, trying to glean some...
it's just as well that all I've been playing is Final Fantasy 12, and I really don't have a lot to say about it these last 2 weeks, so,
Yeah. We'll get an update on that before long, though.
Yep, next podcast.
And there'll be some videos going up. I expect some Freelancer is available for your viewing pleasure on our YouTube channel.
Part 3 went up earlier this week.
Some top photoshopping on the cover.
Thank you
of that one. And we'll be back with a more regularly scheduled Saladcast where we talk more about what we've been playing in a couple of weeks.
And probably grammar. Maybe we can.
The random section will return.
Maybe we can have a deep dive into how great a word is rummage.
Yes, we did get a little bit of it at the end of this podcast.
Yeah. Enjoy the rummaging, and we'll see you then. Bye.